We'll ask all members to take their seats, and this hearing will come to order. Today we meet to discuss the situation in Haiti. In January of 2010, a massive earthquake struck Haiti, doing major physical and social and economic damage to the country that's the poorest country in the Western Hemisphere. It was a devastating blow to a nation already struggling from centuries of violent repression, struggling from endemic corruption and from extreme poverty. The international community, led by the U.S., rapidly organized an unprecedented humanitarian response. International donors pledged $13 billion to support immediate relief and recovery. Private charities also provided another $3 billion. And that year, Congress approved $1 billion in appropriation for Haiti, of which $651 million was provided to the Agency for International Development to support post-earthquake reconstruction. Now, it's 3 years later, and the results are not impressive. Of the 2 million Haitians impacted by the earthquake, an estimated 320,000 remain in squalid displacement camps. Efforts to provide permanent housing have been undermined by weak property rights. Unemployment is very high. Corruption, again, is rampant. The business climate is very poor. Under the leadership of Chairman Emeritus Ross Leitonen, the Government Accountability Office was tasked with studying USAID's efforts, and in particular, this committee was concerned about shelter projects and the development of the Caracol Industrial Park in the northern part of the country. As we will hear today, the GAO, unfortunately, has found that these programs have been slowly implemented, more costly than planned, of questionable lasting import. While much has been promised, little has been effectively delivered. Following this discouraging report, the ranking member and I sent a bipartisan delegation of committee staff to Haiti to review the GAO's findings. And they were left asking some basic questions, and those questions are, why does USAID still lack an engineer for the proposed port in the Caracol Industrial Park? Question one. Question two, why did the U.S. set expectations for massive permanent housing projects in a country where the overwhelming majority of people do not have secure property rights to begin with? And number three, why aren't intended beneficiaries occupying the few housing units that have actually been built? Haiti has suffered too many natural disasters, but it's weak institutions and endemic corruption that perpetuate the poverty of the country. The World Bank has found that the chances of reducing poverty under these conditions, in the World Bank's estimate, approaches zero. The absence of a transparent, legally enforceable system of property rights, and Hernando de Soto has done a lot of work on this issue in Haiti, which would allow Haitians to secure and invest capital or open and expand a business, is debilitating. Without these basics, no level of assistance would put Haiti on the right economic path. The Haitian government's failure to hold long-delayed elections is also troubling. Fully one-third of the Senate in Haiti remains vacant, making a quorum difficult. Even worse, without elections, the President may end up governing by decree. I believe the Haitian people deserve better. I know American taxpayers deserve better. If aid is to continue, we need a viable partner in development, a viable partner there in democracy. And our ranking member, Elliot Engel, was instrumental in bringing this hearing together and also in helping organize the focus on Haiti. And I'm now going to turn to him for his opening remarks.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to begin. Mr. Chairman, I'd like to begin by thanking you for holding this hearing. I've been focused on U.S. policy towards Haiti for many years, and I sincerely appreciate your willingness to bring this issue before the full committee. The January 2010 earthquake in Haiti focused world attention on the plight of that country in a new and different way. The international community, and especially the United States, responded to the urgency and the sheer devastation with both generosity and determination. Our post-earthquake assistance in Haiti currently stands as one of the most significant U.S. aid commitments in the world. Even before the dust had settled from the aftermath of the earthquake, 150 donor countries and organizations rolled up their sleeves and, together with the government of Haiti, began to craft a rebuilding plan. All agreed that this plan would not be business as usual, and that it would seek to have a sustained and unprecedented impact on the future of Haiti. The U.S. piece of that plan, after 3+ years, is a central focus of this hearing. Pursuant to a request by me and Congresswoman Ileana Ross-Lehtinen, the GAO issued a report in June of this year that reached some troubling conclusions. This committee dispatched a staff delegation to Haiti last month to dig deeper into these issues and to help us set the stage for this hearing. The GAO report is the most recent official statement on United States assistance to Haiti. Today's hearing will provide GAO, state, and USAID an opportunity to update and clarify that information. I will leave it to the GAO witness to summarize the conclusions of their report. So suffice it to say that some of their findings came as a surprise to many of us in Congress, and it gave rise to some tough questions. For example, the number of houses to be built with U.S. assistance dropped from roughly 15,000 to 2,649. The estimated number of beneficiaries declined from roughly 80,000 to approximately 14,000. A back-of-the-envelope calculation tells us that the costs per unit have doubled and sometimes tripled. We now know that the Haitian government prevailed upon U.S. officials to build bigger and better housing. The problem, of course, is that this benefited a much smaller pool of people. Even though this represented a dramatic change in the terms of reference for the expenditure of these funds, Congress was not consulted about the decision. Had we been consulted, would we have gone ahead with that plan? Who knows? And was it a good decision to devote a third or more of earthquake reconstruction funding to an industrial park, a power plant to run it, and possibly a new port to service it in a part of the country that was largely unaffected by the earthquake? In terms of process, the GAO report pointed out that the administration has not always provided sufficiently detailed information that Congress needs to assess and evaluate our Haiti programs. It is my hope that greater transparency in the administration's execution of these programs for us and for the Haitian people is among the changes that result from this oversight effort. I will be submitting a series of questions for the record to begin to rebuild the reservoir of information on our Haiti programs. In addition, we may call upon the GAO to conduct an additional study regarding our Haiti assistance. Finally, we may look at streamlined reporting to Congress, such as that included in H.R. 1749, the Assessing Progress in Haiti Act, introduced by Rep. Barbara Lee, and let me say I'm glad that our colleague is here today with us. Another issue I hope we can focus on today relates to how we partner with NGOs and the Haitian government on these programs. On their recent trip, committee staff learned that Haitian officials consistently express concern that U.S. aid largely circumvents the Haitian government. Some say Haiti has become a republic of NGOs. The downside of operating this way is that we lose the opportunity to strengthen the capacity of the Haitian government and to increase the ownership of the Haitian government and people. That ownership is a critical ingredient in the sustainability of our assistance. I understand that there are significant accountability barriers here that must be overcome, but the Haitian government is the essential partner in this effort. That said, I must be clear about the Haitian election issue that currently overhangs this entire effort. Haitian congressional and municipal elections are 2 years overdue. The Haitian Senate is operating with 10 of its 30 seats vacant, and President Martelly is claiming that the terms of 10 other senators end in 2014. The donor community does not agree with this assessment, and I don't either. In any case, if that were to occur, the Haitian Congress would effectively be incapable of carrying out its legislative duties, and we would face the unacceptable prospect of President Martelly governing by decree. This matter is already significantly affecting the patience of the donor community, and I know it will greatly affect how the U.S. Congress approaches our assistance in Haiti. I call on President Martelly to find a quick constitutional resolution to this matter and hold elections as soon as practicable. The threshold question we need to ask today is not whether we are on track to rebuild Haiti to a pre-earthquake standard, but rather if we are helping to build Haiti back better. I hope very much that in 2015, when we reach the 5-year anniversary of our post-earthquake assistance program, we can answer that question in the affirmative. So, Mr. Chairman, thank you again for holding this hearing. I look forward to the testimony of our witnesses.
Thank you, Mr. Engel. We now go to Representative Salmon of Arizona, Chairman of the Western Hemisphere Subcommittee.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I would like to commend Chairman Royce and Ranking Member Engel for convening this important oversight hearing on Haiti. The GAO's report on aid to Haiti and the status of the U.S. reconstruction projects and our investment in economic development there. Although the rubble has been largely cleared away, I believe the Haitian people are right to be frustrated with the lack of progress on reconstruction and for perceived lack of coordination on the part of the international donor community. The GAO's report was critical in many respects when it comes to USAID, overpromising and under-delivering on many fronts, and we're here today to try to find out why. But I also would like to use my time to point out a couple of areas where bipartisan staff delegation reported back some positive findings. In particular, I was told that some specific projects regarding USAID partnering with the government of Haiti to provide health care services in underserved rural areas seem to be working quite well. In addition, I heard some exciting agricultural programs that are being made possible by a unique partnership between USAID and the University of Florida that are making a real difference for the lives of Haitian farming families and having a positive impact in the local agricultural community by trying to bring their farming techniques and practices into the 21st century. I was also impressed with what I heard regarding the training and professionalism of the Haitian National Police and the government of Haiti's partnership with our DEA to combat the narco-traffickers. In conclusion, I'd like to add my voice to Chairman Royce's concerning the importance of Haiti going forward with finally holding elections. This is a crucial step that the government of Haiti must take if we're able to count on them as reliable partners going forward. Failure to conduct elections in the near term will cause many of us to question the use of taxpayer dollars in recovery efforts, as we will have little confidence in the government. I look forward to hearing more today and making sure U.S. taxpayer dollars are being spent wisely and most cost-effectively as they possibly can in Haiti. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I yield back.
Thank you. We go now to Mr. Series of New Jersey, Ranking Member of the Western Hemisphere Subcommittee.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good morning, and thank you to our witnesses for being here today. The 2010 earthquake in Haiti unleashed an unthinkable amount of death and destruction to what was already the poorest country in the Western Hemisphere. More than 250,000 people died, 2 million people were displaced. And ever since, a cholera outbreak has plagued the island, and more than 300,000 displaced people remain in camps. Through a June 2013 GAO report, we know that the U.S. aid efforts in Haiti have been grossly inadequate and marred by incompetence. Reports submitted to Congress have been untimely and shallow. We know little of how money has been spent, and there is a failure to recruit appropriate technical expertise when necessary. And amongst the most disturbing accounts is how the U.S. aid increased the funding allocated for housing by 65%, while decreasing the projected number of houses to be built by 80%. I understand the post-earthquake environment was chaotic and that the Haitian government has not been entirely cooperative at times. Nonetheless, these lapses are unacceptable. U.S. aid efforts are an effective and critical component of our foreign policy. However, the accounts outlined by the GAO report undercut these efforts and overshadow our goodwill. At a time when the Congress is deadlocked over funding the government, our U.S. agencies must do better. Thank you.
Thank you. This morning, we are going to hear first from Dr. David Gutnick, Director of International Affairs and Trade at the Government Accountability Office. He's been in that position since 2011. Although not a common committee practice, Dr. Gutnick will be followed by a second distinguished panel consisting of representatives from the Department of State and from USAID. Earlier this year, GAO issued a critical report of the administration's efforts, and I think the format of allowing the GAO to testify first is going to give members an opportunity to fully understand the GAO's findings before asking questions of the administration. So, without objection, the witness's full prepared statement will be made part of the record. Members here will have 5 days to submit statements or questions or extraneous materials for the record. And we'll now ask Mr. Gutnick to summarize his statement. And you have 5 minutes, Mr. Gutnick.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman and members of the committee, thank you for inviting GAO to participate in this hearing. As you indicated, Mr. Chairman, today, more than 3 years after the earthquake, nearly 300,000 Haitians remain in temporary shelter, and nearly 80% of the population lives in poverty. Roughly 6 months after the earthquake, Congress provided more than $1.1 billion in a supplemental appropriation for Haiti's reconstruction. USAID is responsible for the single largest share, directly implementing $651 million of this amount. As of June 2013, AID had obligated just over half and dispersed about 1/3 of this funding. My statement today updates GAO's recent report on 2 of AID's key activities. First, the construction of the power plant and port to support a new industrial park known by its acronym CIP in northern Haiti. And second, construction of permanent housing in and around Port-au-Prince, St. Marc, and Cape Haitian, 3 designated development corridors. Regarding the industrial park, 1 year after the earthquake, the U.S. and Haitian governments, the Inter-American Development Bank, and a South Korean garment maker entered into a public-private partnership for development of the CIP. Specifically, the bank was to provide funding to the Haitian government to construct the park complex. The U.S. government would build the power plant, contribute to building a nearby port, and support construction of 5,000 housing units near the industrial park. And the Korean firm would be the anchor tenant with plans to hire 20,000 Haitian workers. AID did complete the initial phase of the power plant in time to supply the first CIP tenant with electricity, and as of last month, 1,500 workers are employed at the park. AID has funding to cover operation and maintenance for 3 years, expand the distribution of power, add solar energy, and increase the plant's generating capacity. However, port construction is delayed about 2 years from its original plan. In addition, funding for the port is insufficient to cover most of the projected costs, and it's unclear whether the Haitian government will find a private sector partner willing to co-finance all phases of the project as originally envisioned. The lack of a port engineer at AID's Haiti mission is an important factor in these planning challenges. After 2 unsuccessful efforts to recruit a qualified engineer, AID is now working with the U.S. Army Corps for this expertise. Turning to the permanent housing, AID's New Settlements Program is a response to the severe post-earthquake housing shortage and supports the Haitian government's goal of expanding economic activity in areas outside Port-au-Prince. However, AID's original housing numbers and cost estimates for both site development and home building proved to be optimistic. The program's original goals were for AID and its partners to build 15,000 new homes at a cost of roughly $2,000 per plot and $8,000 per house. However, the program is now projected to complete less than 20% of the originally planned homes, and costs to date are about $10,000 per plot and over $24,000 per house. These shortfalls are due to a number of factors. In particular, the initial cost estimates use inaccurate comparisons to earlier projects and did not take into account the level of site infrastructure that aid is designed and built into these sites. To a lesser extent, the Haitian government's request for larger and improved houses also increased costs. Problems securing land title and donor coordination also delayed construction. Most of this housing will be located near the industrial park, with only 15% located in the earthquake-affected area. The residents at the first site have just started moving in, and AID is working to address sustainability risks, such as affordability and community development. However, funding for these efforts is limited. GAO's recent report recommended that AID hire a port engineer and provide timely community support mechanisms for each new settlement. AID agreed with both recommendations, and we will monitor their progress in this regard. Mr. Chairman, this completes my remarks. I'm happy to answer your questions.
One of the questions I would like to ask you is, how big a factor was the USAID's inability in this case to secure land titles in moving forward? And I see the project was delayed by 2 years. And knowing what we know about property rights in Haiti and some of the past discussions we've had about this issue, were the goals realistic given the morass of inability to fix title and so forth?
Right. I think there's no question that land titling and land ownership in Haiti is at best arcane, historically a paper record system at most, that many of the archives that did contain what existed of property records were damaged or destroyed in the earthquake. It's worth recognizing that most of the government's structures were literally collapsed in Port-au-Prince after the earthquake. 17% of the Haitian government civil servants were killed in the earthquake, and probably a third were subsequently displaced or left their positions. But with respect to land titling, in particular, the building of homes in Port-au-Prince, I think, was sacrificed by the absence of land title, the ability to gain land title, and very limited options for government land in the immediate Port-au-Prince area. So that the original plan was to build most of the homes in Port-au-Prince,
right,
but eventually most of the land was available outside.
Who in the Haitian government, if you happen to know, insisted upon the very costly design changes, and what was the purpose?
Well,
what was their purpose for
I'd
that?
have to get you the answer on who exactly within the Haitian government made that request. I do know that it came at the ministry level from the Haitian government, and that the interest was for larger homes and to include indoor plumbing, so that these would be exceptional homes by Haitian standards without question. At this point, they're built at approximately 450 square feet, and they are excellent homes that are built to a very high standard.
Reportedly, a few Haitian senators decided they were not getting a big enough, I guess kickback would be the word to use here, on construction in their districts. And so they insisted upon costly design changes. You never know when you're reading these accounts or hearing these accounts what is behind a delay like this. But the argument was that those changes could not be justified. And the question, of course, would be, did USAID roll over in a situation like this and finally concur in order to move forward with something that seriously, on the face of it, couldn't be justified? And that speaks to the broader issue of the endemic corruption and the exposure of U.S. assistance to waste and fraud and abuse in a situation like this, and indeed what can be done to counter these types of circumstances where something goes on years longer, Dr. Goodnick, than had been intended You look at the cost overruns. We underestimated the cost by 433% per plot, I guess, in your study, and 193% per house. And the schedule ends up 2 years behind schedule. Your observations on that?
Well, the cost escalation occurred really in a number of different phases, and this is outlined in our report. The initial estimate of $2,000 per plot and $8,000 per home came originally in some of the activity approval documents, the early documents that AID submitted for review that formed the basis of their initial goals and their cost, the estimates of the cost. Subsequently, AID got formal independent government estimates and just before letting contracts, and found that the costs had risen. So that was the first escalation. A second escalation occurred when they first got bids back, which were found to be actually higher than the independent government estimates. And then finally, the Haitian government's request for the larger and improved homes added yet another cost increase. I'm not specifically familiar with the issue of corruption that you mentioned, although it's fair to say corruption is felt to be endemic in Haiti. I will say that one of the features of the rising costs would be the interest in using local building materials. I know that AID would have wanted to use local building materials, but for example, with respect to concrete, when some testing was done, it was found to be inadequate and would not have proved to be a sufficient home.
I understand. We'll go now to our ranking member, Mr. Engel from New York.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. In your report, you said that USAID and state did not brief Congress adequately. What specifically should or could be done about this?
Right. Our report cited the directive in the supplemental appropriations in the Senate report to the supplemental appropriations, which directed state to provide reports to the appropriations committees and to the Congress broadly every 6 months for the first 2 years of the supplemental. What we did is we went back and looked at those reports and studied the extent to which those reports fully complied with the various directives, and found that the reports were somewhat limited at times in their candor and in their thoroughness about the progress and the challenges that were being faced by the reconstruction effort. I think it's fair to say that from state and aid's point of view, in addition to those reports, they would willingly come up here and provide information at the request of various members and committees, and had briefed on the Hill numerous times. That said, we felt that the reinstitution of the reporting requirement would assist Congress in its oversight.
Thank you. How does USAID's reliance on contractors and NGOs impact the effectiveness of U.S. aid in Haiti, in your opinion?
Yeah, I don't think AID could do its work without contractors and NGOs in Haiti. I think one of the interesting questions related to your question would be the extent to which large, either U.S. or multinational non-governmental organizations versus local organizations could be used. And it's my general understanding that part of the reason the cost escalated for these homes was that the prime contractor or the prime builder, AID wanted to ensure was a fully responsible contractor who was going to build according to the standards and specs that they had sought. And that does raise the price. With respect to the actual digging in the earth and laying of the bricks and mortar, I think they've worked as hard as they can to identify local NGOs who can hire local labor to do that work.
I'm going to give you some quotes I'd like you to comment on. After the earthquake, the administration said we must, quote, do things differently, and explained that we had to work with the Haitian government, quote, as partners. It said we couldn't have a, quote, scattered array of well-meaning projects, and we needed to, quote, coordinate our aid and hold ourselves accountable, unquote. Obviously, I'm not sure we've done those things. I'd like you to comment.
Right. Well, I recall that immediately after the earthquake, when I think the spirit of cooperation and the endeavor to build back and build back better was first emerged, there was an intention to work as closely as possible and to assist in rebuilding Haitian government capacity to take charge of this rebuilding. And the first structure that was developed after the earthquake, something called the IHRC, the Interim Haitian Reconstruction Commission, which was co-chaired by the then Prime Minister of Haiti and former President Bill Clinton, was an effort to have the U.S. and the multilateral community join with the Haitian government in an effort that ultimately could be Haitian-led. Unfortunately, that effort did not yield a highly functioning Haitian government entity or ministry that could take over development. There has been an effort to restart a similar process just in the past 6 months. State Department may be able to give you additional information. I don't believe it is proceeded particularly far at this point.
What are, the report said I know a lot, but if you could highlight the major criticism, the major thing that jumped out at you, what would that be?
Right. Well, the first thing I'd want to do is put this in context that we were asked by yourself and Ms. Ross-Leitonen to look at two of the key efforts that USAID has undertaken. So the Industrial Park Project and the permanent housing, two arguably key features or signature features of the development and reconstruction post-earthquake. They are by no means the only activities that AID has undertaken. But with respect to those two key activities, I'd say the key takeaways for me are, one, there is a tremendous challenge in completing the feasibility studies, selecting a site, and then going through all the steps that are required to construct a port that will be part of the larger apparatus of this industrial park, the power plant, the port, the housing units, and the complex itself. So the first takeaway is that the challenge is getting that port up. The second one is the housing. I think it's fair to say that the initial estimates were just too optimistic, that with the best of intention, there was a goal of 15,000 houses that between land, donor coordination, costs of building materials, and some weakness in the initial estimates was just not destined to come to fruition.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
We go now to Ileana Ross-Leitonen from Florida, Chairman of the Middle East Subcommittee.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you, Ranking Member Engel. As we discussed more than 1 year ago, on June 22nd, 2012, then Ranking Member Howard Berman and I requested that GAO investigate reconstruction efforts in Haiti, specifically pertaining to shelters and development of the surrounding areas of the Caracol Industrial Park in Cape Haitian. Thank you, Director, and thank you to your team members who did a thorough job in this GAO report. We commend you. I was shocked to read the findings of the report and deeply disappointed that our foreign aid continues to suffer from a lack of real, targeted, comprehensive strategy to improve the situation on the ground for the people of Haiti. While Haiti, unfortunately, remains one of the poorest countries in the Western Hemisphere, U.S. taxpayers have been extremely generous in providing millions of dollars in foreign aid and humanitarian relief to this Caribbean country. In fact, Haiti is the largest recipient of foreign aid in the region. However, it is our responsibility to ensure that these dollars are being spent wisely and are showing the impact and the results that are intended. While I recognize that the environment in Haiti may be difficult, we must do our due diligence in this committee to hold U.S. officials accountable for the mistakes made in Haiti. Over 3 years ago, this body acted to provide emergency relief funds for Haiti to help the recovery efforts after the earthquake. It is appalling that we find out from this GAO report that only 50% of the funds have been obligated and a mere 35% have been dispersed. Mr. Director, why do you think that USAID and state have been so behind on getting these crucial dollars out the door? And I'm going to continue. Also, given the fact that no U.S. dollars go directly to the government of Haiti, do you believe that our government has correctly prioritized relief efforts through reliable NGOs? Another alarming finding from your report relates to housing. USAID decreased the projected number of houses they anticipated from 15,000 homes to now just 2,600 homes. This means that less people will be helped, from 75,000 as originally planned to now just 13,000 people. This translates to less homes for less people at double the cost. This is beyond unacceptable. It is scandalous. And lastly, I would like to discuss the report, the port in Cape Haitian, as you pointed out in your report. According to the GAO report, this port is 2 years behind schedule, may take up to 10 years in finishing. And in addition, as of June 2013, USAID has yet to fill the position of a port engineer to oversee the project. These misguided decisions are reckless and only hinder our ability to help the people of Haiti, which is our objective. Let me be clear, USAID does not have the expertise, the knowledge, or the background to build this port. Mr. Director, do you agree with this assessment? To your knowledge, has USAID ever built a port to this scale in the past and been successful?
Thank you, Congresswoman. Let me take a couple different parts of that. I have one figure that I think will perhaps speak to the obligations and disbursements. It's the other one. Because you mentioned, Ms. Rosleitner, that only 50% had been obligated and 1/3 dispersed. This is a graphic that shows the timeline of the supplemental and the obligations and disbursements. So on the horizontal axis, you see time, and on the vertical axis, you see percent disbursed. Way to the left, you can see the January 2010 earthquake. Somewhat to the right, you see the timing of the supplemental. Then what you see is the slow curve upward of obligations and expenditures. And a couple of things to remark about that. Money did not start to flow for about 1 year because there was some time that was invested in planning and building programs on the ground. And then what you see is a steady curve upward over the ensuing 3 years now since the supplemental. At 35% dispersed at 3 years, I would say that a project like this, AID would probably typically think of a 5-year course for disbursement. And so I would think they'd want to see that curve bend upward somewhat, but they are on a trajectory where if on some of these larger capital projects, outlays increase towards the latter part of the project, that they would be able to meet a large percentage of the spending within 5 years. So that would be a perspective on the obligations and disbursements. You asked a number of other things. Let me mention the knowledge on the ports. You are correct that to the best of our research, and I think AID concurred, they've not built a port of this magnitude for many decades. And they did seek the expertise of a port engineer. What I think you will hear from them is that the challenges recruiting a highly qualified individual to come and live and work in this environment, they had 2 solicitations they were unable to fill with a qualified person. It may have taken them a couple years to sort that out. At a point here—
Thank you. I'm sorry, I'm out of time, and I like to be cognizant of that. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, for your generosity. Thank you, sir, again, for an excellent report. We want to help.
Thank you.
We really do.
Mr. Gregory Meeks, New York.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Let me ask, in listening to your testimony, it seems as though one of the big mistakes that were made early on is the estimates that were done on the cost to build the homes and the cost of the port, et cetera. Did your study tell us how was that so wrong? Because that seems to be causing a lot of the problems today because where we started in the beginning as far as the estimates. How did we go so wrong with the estimates? Could you give us a—
Right, I think it's very clear with respect to the housing that the initial estimates were based on homes that had been built in Haiti prior to the earthquake, in part, and that those estimates, while they would have formed a reasonable basis for comparison, were probably used more directly than they ought to have been to estimate the price of a home. Secondly, I think AID, as it proceeded through its design, did not anticipate the cost that would be incurred to to build the site to the specs that they've achieved. So if you think about the complex of homes, they're building roads, retaining walls, putting in electricity, putting in a form of a sewage system, building, putting in streetlights, putting in walkways and the like. And that level of infrastructure to build a community from a greenfield, essentially, I think was an underestimation of the costs.
Now, and just, that was the other questions I had was the infrastructure itself. Because when I hear that there was a question from the government in regards to indoor plumbing as opposed to outdoor plumbing, etc. Seems to me all of that should have been done in the infrastructure, because in my mind, in 2013, the best way to do something is to have indoor plumbing so that you could have a sewer system. That should have been computed in an estimate in doing infrastructure, and then the coordination of the funds, because when you have between the Haiti Construction Fund, the USAID money, and then I don't know, CAED, who I don't know whether they're coordinated, any of that coordination, so that that then gives you, I would think, a better idea of what you're doing and how much it costs. How did that coordination go, and why then, you know, at the beginning stages, we were not looking at indoor plumbing as opposed to just having, you know, I can't even imagine to say having outhouses or, you know, in 2013.
Right. I'll be honest with you, Mr. Meeks, it's not entirely clear to me exactly how the request for indoor plumbing, where it came from in the Haitian government, how it was processed by the U.S. government, and how the U.S. government came to how AID came to the decisions to respond to that. That we simply report as having happened. It's a bit of a black box. I think AID, I'm sure, in state can answer that for you. I'd also be happy to try to look into that on your behalf and get you an answer. I think it's fair to say that the Haitian government asked and we agreed to have this improvement built into the structures.
Let me also ask, I was just looking at what your recommendations were, and I think, I don't know if you had a chance to answer Ms. Ross Layton's question, but it says the GAO recommends that hire a port engineer to oversee port planning and construction. Has that been done?
Right. At the time we issued our report, the AID issued its second solicitation for a port engineer, roughly timed with the issuance of our report. So they agreed with our recommendation. They indeed proceeded with a recruitment effort. That recruitment effort, as I understand it, did not yield a qualified individual who was willing to move to Haiti under the circumstances of the job offer. And so they've reinvested, I think, in working with federal government agencies, particularly U.S. Army Corps of Engineers, who have that expertise.
So then basically saying that we could not find that person, so you go on to plan B, since that person couldn't find it.
I think that's fair characterization.
Okay, and second, it says provide timely community support mechanisms for each new settlement to help ensure sustainability of its permanent housing program. Has that been done?
Right. A little context on that. If you think about taking a greenfield and converting that into hundreds of homes, and then identifying beneficiaries and providing them with that housing, particularly where employment opportunities may not be entirely proximate to the housing development, there are a range of community development challenges that emerge. First of all, how do individuals pay the rent? What kinds of rent are required? Are they building towards ownership? Who runs this community? Who's the community? Where's the community leadership? Where's community structure? What are some of the rules? And AID had funded efforts to obtain services, expertise basically, to allow communities to help communities build that kind of expertise. That has been made available to some of the early communities, but we have not been given certainty that there's funding to do that in each of the communities that's to be built. We think that's important, and it will enhance the sustainability of these communities that are being developed.
Thank you.
We go now to Mr. Dana Rohrbacher, Subcommittee Chairman for the European Subcommittee.
Euro-Asian and emerging threats. That's the exact.
That's the full title.
There it
You've got 5 minutes there, Chairman.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. I think that when we are coming to grips with, here in the United States, with our ever-increasing debt that is, as we all realize, is unsustainable for our own economy. It behooves us to take a look at what we're doing as a government and to see if there are not ways that we can do things more effectively and efficiently, and what we can afford and what we can't afford to do. And that in particular deals with how we are dealing with exactly the situations that we are examining today in terms of our assistance to other countries. I think that, Mr. Chairman, in specifically, we're going to have to determine whether the United States can still be involved in long-term development, or whether the limited amount of money that we have now because of our own debt situation will mean that we've got to focus instead on emergency and disaster assistance as the essence of American foreign aid as compared to long-term development, or especially, I don't think that we can any longer afford ongoing subsidies to foreign governments, especially when the foreign government seems to indicate that there are corruption problems within that society. First of all, specifically, the homes that were being built that we're talking about here in Haiti, are they owned by the occupants of the house?
It's a good question. What my understanding is, the way this will work is, as beneficiaries move in, they will be paying, and I think the first settlement's approximately $35 per month.
To whom?
To the Haitian government.
To the Haitian government?
I would actually want to make sure I'm correct. Yes, to the Haitian government. And what that will do is that will build towards ownership of the home. Because it's government land, they will not in the end own the land, but they will own their home, so essentially they're paying a mortgage.
So we're setting these people up. They don't really own the home until they've made their payments. The Haitian government may end up owning the homes.
Well, the homes were built on Haitian government land. Universally, the permanent shelter that's being constructed is, in the end of the day, on Haitian government land. The U.S. government is the donor of this effort, and I would defer to my colleagues at State and Aid. But
sounds like we've set up another scenario of corruption there, to be frank. And it's one thing for us to have come into this project at all. We should have expected the Haitian government, Mr. Chairman, we should have expected the Haitian government to donate the land to whoever occupied the house, rather than leave whatever petty bureaucrats in that country who rape their own people with that kind of power over a project that we are financing. Anyway, that sounds like something we need to pay attention to. You know, the Chinese do things a lot differently than we do when they have projects like this. But let me ask you, are we using local contractors to build these homes?
we're using a range of partners that are primarily larger NGOs or, in some cases, multilateral institutions that have the capacity to perform as the prime contractor. In turn, it's my understanding that a lot of the actual labor is being conducted by Haitians.
Okay, so we're giving money to an organization that then doles it out to build the homes that then actually the Haitian government ends up controlling. The Chinese, by the way, just so you'll know, I'm sure you already are aware of this, they come in and they don't do that. What they do is they bring in their own workers, their own people, and when they build a project, and then they leave the project. They say, here are the homes. This is what we're giving you, but they are not deeply involved with the murky business of doing business in a third world country where there is so much corruption, and so much of the money then is wasted through corruption. Let me ask you a little bit about the specifics. Well, I've got about 9 seconds, but I understand Cheryl Mills, because this was such an emergency situation, and the task was so daunting that she was given certain authority and a vehicle of trying to make this work in Haiti, that it went out of the normal process that the State Department uses for such emergency measures. How has that worked out as compared to what the normal procedures would have done?
I'd have to defer to State Department on that. In general, we have been working with the Haiti Task Team and the Office of the Haiti Reconstruction Coordinator at USAID and State Department, respectively. If they are working with above that level within their own respective departments, I'm less familiar with that.
Well, we're going to have to find better ways of how we have limited amount of money now as compared to what we've had in the past. Our own country can't sustain the course we're on. We've got to do things better, and frankly, there's just as much corruption as there ever has been. Thank you very much.
We go now to Mr. Saris of New Jersey.
Yes. Okay. Did you mention before that the houses were 450 square feet? Is that what you said?
450 square feet, 450 square meters?
Is that?
I'll have to get the precise answer for you, but my understanding was 450 square feet.
And this is a request by the government to make it that large?
Yeah, they went from about 200, I'm going to look this up for you, but I believe they went from about 275 square feet to 450 square feet.
What? 275 square feet? That's a room.
It's a small house. It's as they're constructed, they are a one-bedroom with a concrete pad where the resident, if they choose to, could add a second bedroom. So it's a bedroom, a living area, a small bathroom, and a kitchen.
I mean, I don't think it's outrageous that the government requested that you make it a little larger and put a bathroom in there. I assume that's the reason we agreed to it.
Again, I wouldn't claim to have a great deal of knowledge about the discussions that took place between the U.S. and the Haitian government to agree to it. I simply know that rather late in the day, the Haitian government asked for this improvement and the U.S. government agreed to it.
And you say they own the land, the government owns the land?
Yes, in
And
all
they have
cases, there are 8 sites that have been developed. We have a map in our report that will show you the location of the 8 sites. 1 is in the Port-au-Prince area, 4 are around the industrial park, and 2 are in the St. Mark's corridor. And in each case, at the end of the day, these ended up being on government land. Initially, AID had hoped to work with private entities who would donate the land. Part of their, maybe a large landholder would donate something in exchange for enhanced value of their own land and the like. That is my understanding is that at the end of the day did not work out.
Do you know if any homes have been built in where they would own the land?
The homes are all being built on government property, and as I indicated, they will pay a form of rent where after a period of time they will own the home. They will not own the land. I think my understanding is that between the U.S. and the Haitians, there's been some assurances that given the vagaries of land ownership and title in this country, that the homeowners have been assured that when they pay their mortgage, if you will, and ultimately own that house, that they will have a secure title to their home.
And the land?
To the best of my understanding, not the land. That's correct.
So no matter what you paid, you still don't own the land that you're there?
You don't own the land. You don't own the land. You own the house.
So if the
Now, it's
government
fair to
ever wanted to do anything and take the land, they could basically remove these people?
Right. It's fair to say that the vast majority of Haitians, certainly in Port-au-Prince, do not own, even if they own their home, they don't necessarily own the land. If they're a tenant, they don't necessarily, their landlord, him or herself, doesn't necessarily own the land. Land ownership is obscure, I'd say, in much of Haiti.
Can you talk a little bit why you think there was so much delays in the reports and the omissions in the report? Is it because maybe we just didn't do it right, or the government is not a good partnership in this process?
With respect to the 6-monthly reporting requirement that the State Department had, I think it's fair to say that the reports emphasized the more positive aspects of the development, the reconstruction effort, and that we felt that additional candor about problems and challenges would give them a more rich context and more accurate view of what was taking place.
Do you know if the government is a partner or an obstructionist in all this?
The Haitian government?
Yes.
I would let, again, Aiden, I would defer to Aiden State on that.
You take the fifth? Okay. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Mr. Gutnick, according to your report, USAID will build only 2,649 of the 15,000 houses originally. And I'm just wondering, is this an acceptable outcome? I've heard all the other folks talk about, you know, why we've had the mistakes in projections and everything, but realistically, could this have been avoided?
I think it's regrettable that the goal will not be achieved or anything like the original goal. I think when you step back from the question of permanent housing, it might be also useful to look at some of the efforts regarding the severe housing shortage, indeed the disaster around housing that occurred after the earthquake. So that in the immediate aftermath, there were a range of efforts, some of which the U.S. government took the lead on, some of which they were a participant in, anything from simply removing rubble to getting some of the initial temporary shelter in the camps established, to getting basic safety and sanitation in some of the camps, to some of the transitional housing structures that were built, some of the damage assessment in Port-au-Prince that was done. So these are housing-related activities where I think it's fair to say the U.S. government played a key role and did achieve some very positive results. With respect to the permanent housing, there's been some real shortcomings in what they hope to achieve and what they've achieved.
Also, USAID has committed $170.3 million to construct a power plant and a port to support the newly developed Caracol Industrial Park. And according to a recent USAID feasibility study, the park port will cost anywhere between $117 million and $189 million, more than the $68.1 million USAID planned to invest. Is it likely that the Haitian government or private sector investors will ever cover the shortfall? And what happens if USAID can't get the additional investment? Would it have been wise to secure funding agreements prior to construction? And then finally, USAID has informed the committee it plans to hire a port engineering expert by the end of this year. I heard you talk about the fact that they haven't had any responses yet, but even if they do get that engineer, would that alone be sufficient to cure the problems they're facing, and what else should be done?
Right. With respect to the shortfall on the funding of the port, I think it's important to recognize that AID's investment was not intended to be the entire investment required to build and operate this port. The port has been envisioned as a four-phased project. And right now, AID's $60-some million that remains in that sector will cover the majority, but I don't believe all of Phase 1. AID, I believe, hopes that Phase 1 would be enough to get the port up and running, although it would not have the full capacities, obviously, of the completed construction over the 4 phases. For the 4 phases, there's a significant shortfall, and the effort is to identify someone in the private sector who will invest in the building of the port and then obtain a concession for the running of the port and thus recoup some of their investment. I wouldn't say I'm the best person to have the most expertise to answer that. I'd say that it would be a large investment, and the private partner would need a concession at the port that was sufficient to recoup their investment, and that's a private sector calculation I can't do for you.
With that kind of a shortfall, would it be prudent of us maybe to hold back on that money until there is a successful game plan?
Well, I think there's some degree to which the port, the power plant, the housing, and the industrial park are interdependent. That's not specifically to say that without the port, the other parts of that larger project couldn't survive, but it certainly is standard economic logic to suggest that that port will reduce the transportation costs for the industrial park, allowing them to expand, hire more folks, more wages that will support housing, more use of the power plant and payment for the utilities that the power plant provides. And so there's some synergy to these projects that I think would make it a greater challenge for the larger project to succeed without the port.
I guess what I was trying to get at, though, is does it make sense if it's going to be that much of a shortfall? Would you recommend that we don't spend that $68 million and build something that may not be able to be completed?
We've not made that recommendation. We have made no recommendation to halt funding or otherwise withdraw funding. I would say that AID has already invested a couple years in feasibility, is continuing to invest in feasibility, and has real plans to move forward.
Mr. Connolly.
Actually, Mr. Chairman, I would be glad to defer to Mrs. Bass.
Thank you very much, Mr. Conley. I have a couple of categories of questions I wanted to ask you about. One is Feed the Future and the status of Feed the Future. But before that, I wanted to understand more about the contractors that are used, and not necessarily for building the port, but all of the other projects that are going on. I think you said they're all NGOs?
My understanding is that they're non-governmental organizations. In one case, it's a development bank. There are other large actors who are involved in the prime contracting to build the homes.
And how do we find the NGOs? You know, are they U.S.-based NGOs, international, Haitian?
Well, the cost of this home is largely the cost the funds that are transferred to the builder. The builder then has outlays to achieve the project, and as an NGO is not anticipating meeting a profit, but providing the service.
Right, and I'm just trying to get at understanding the vetting process and how we hold NGOs accountable, whether they're nonprofit or whether they're making profit. How do we recruit them, vet them, hold them accountable?
Right, it's an important question, and I think it's a key priority for AID throughout its entire enterprise. And
right.
It's been a priority of the aid administrator to use local NGOs and improve capacity of local NGOs wherever possible. I think the challenge, which AID could speak to, is, just as you articulate, ensuring that you have a partner there who can act accountably with respect to the funding and also provide the service that you've asked them to provide.
So from your point of view, though, in terms of the accountability and the vetting, you wouldn't know? Is that what you're saying?
I
mean, I know you're not U.S., I know you're not AID, but...
Right. We have done a variety of studies at GAO and other parts of our portfolio where we've looked at AID's oversight of its grants and its contracts. And I think what we found is that there is this tension. When you're working with a U.S. NGO, you have an enhanced ability to ensure accountability. When you're working with a local NGO, you have the opportunity to improve local capacity. And this is a balance and progress that AID is trying to make with its USAID forward, but it faces real challenges in this regard.
So challenges means there is a method of accountability, or?
I'd say it's not a one-size-fits-all. You've got to look in a case-by-case. So if you look at Haiti,
right.
In particular, by and large, the prime recipient of funding has not been a local NGO. I can't say that without exception across all of the reconstruction effort, but with respect to the projects we're looking at, they've not gone directly to the Haitian civil society, public sector or private sector to do this work.
So who have they gone to?
Indirectly, Haitian labor is contributing to the building.
Got that. I understand that, and I think that's great. But who does the money go to? If it's not Haitian NGOs, who is?
Well, I mean, there are a number of large NGOs, some of whom you'd recognize, the American Red Cross and the like, are the types of organizations that are prime recipients.
Okay. And are you able to comment about the status of Feed the Future?
Excuse me?
Are you able to comment about the status of Feed the Future in Haiti, the $88 million that has been spent so far?
You know, I'd be happy to take questions for you and get back to you on that. I'm not our agency's expert on that issue. Okay. I certainly know that hunger in Haiti was on the rise prior to the earthquake and has become more acute, and particularly with the cholera epidemic and certain natural disasters subsequent to the earthquake, 2 hurricanes that have buffeted the island. There's been real challenges, and deforestation is a huge problem.
Okay, well, we could save that for the next panel. Thank you very much.
Mr. Chairman?
Mr. Connolly?
I would ask unanimous consent that our colleague Barbara Lee be allowed to participate in this hearing.
Absolutely.
I thank the chair.
Chair recognizes Mr. Marino.
Thank you, Chairman. Over here, sir. And thank you for being here. Have you or anyone from state, if you can speak to it, any U.S. entity or person discovered corruption, fraud, or theft taking place in Haiti on these projects?
On these two projects, I'm not aware of any specific charges or findings of corruption.
Okay. Is there an entity or is there a person responsible for investigating the potential for corruption?
Well, with respect to ensuring that both the financial and programmatic controls are in place such that the funds are being used for intended purposes, AID is going to have grants or contracts managers or oversight functions within its within the Office of the Haiti Coordinator, within the Haiti Task Team, within the USAID mission that are looking to ensure that the funds are being spent as intended. Again, I don't have any specific observations about corruption or lack of accountability in these projects. That said, they are, with respect to housing, clearly not meeting some of their targets.
Do you have access or have you had access to any of these reports that may have been put together to determine whether the money is going where it's supposed to be going and we're getting the product in return?
You know, that was not a key part of the scope of this project, so I'd have to honestly say I could look into that and get back to you, but I don't have specific information for you.
Is there a U.S. entity on the ground, for example, let's say someone to review initial plans and prints, someone to review initial cost? If a load of concrete is coming in, is it the grade that was spec'd out? Is it being properly laid? Are the materials that are used to build a house, are they materials that were spec'd out, or are they ended up being a lesser quality? Is there anyone that reviews this on the ground as the building is taking place?
Right. In general, I think I would point to two types of oversight of that kind of accountability challenge. One, the initial contractor or grantee is going to be required to provide reports to AID, and secondarily, at the AID mission, there's going to be oversight of those reports and that information that comes forward. The Inspector General is also, the Regional Inspector General based in El Salvador has done a lot of work on the ground in Haiti, but the general accountability and oversight, the internal controls for those projects tend to be managed within the aid mission.
So you stated that previously that much of the labor is and should be from the Haitian people, correct?
That's my understanding, yes.
Now, if an individual or a business person, man or woman in Haiti has a cement company, is there ever a situation where a representative from the United States is on the ground making sure that the product that is on site is the product that we originally paid for?
Right. Well, I mean, concrete's a good example because it's my understanding that in these building projects, there's not been sufficient information to suggest that locally procured building materials are satisfactory, and so part of the escalation of costs is the importation of a lot of the building materials to satisfy the demands for quality.
Don't you think then there could be a cost savings, there could be time savings if there's actually a representative of the U.S. as a project manager on site making certain that we are getting what we pay for, or a series of managers?
You know, honestly, Congressman, I think that's a question I'm going to have to let you direct to AID. I don't have the answer for you.
And then I have 30 seconds left. Can you again expand on a little bit, how is what is USAID doing, and what's your conception of more private enterprise getting involved in projects like this?
Well, the port itself is an effort to build a public-private partnership. That's to say, for USAID to partially fund the port after feasibility studies have been done, designs have been completed, and to identify what would be a large, in Haitian terms, a very large investor to contribute to completing the port and becoming the concessionaire. So there's one example.
Okay, I see my time has expired, and I want to keep within my 5 minutes. Thank you, Doctor.
Mr. Vargas.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. Appreciate the opportunity. Well, I have to say I was much more scandalized before I got here, because now that I'm here, I think some of the questions have been answered. I looked at the 15th, that you were going to build 15,000 homes. That was the original. But it turns out that that was a pie in the sky, that those numbers were way off, one. And two, that you were looking at building them in Port-au-Prince where it would be infill as opposed to raw construction. So infill is a lot cheaper. Any of us who have worked in the business know that. So infill would have been a lot cheaper, but because the property wasn't secure, you couldn't get simple fee title there. You had to build somewhere else, so you have to put in the infrastructure. Secondly, interestingly, the houses were going to be 275 square feet. And just so you understand what that is, a house of 15 times 18 feet is 270 square feet. The average family size of a Haitian family is 4 people. So you're going to put 4 people in a room of 15 by 18. So someone came up with the outrageous idea that they should put them instead in a room of 21 by 22 square feet. I know that area well because a few years ago I built a garage. That's how big my garage is. So somewhere the scandal is that you're going to build a house the size of an American suburban garage to put in 4 people, and that the outrageous thought that they might have a bathroom. You know, my daughter spent the last 2 summers, the summer before last summer, in Nicaragua, up in a place called Los Lipes, way up in the jungle, and she didn't have a bathroom, which I was grateful for, because now she doesn't complain at home, a 16-year-old. And this year, she was in Paraguay this summer working for Los Amigos, Los Americas. Again, they didn't have a bathroom. It was about 100 feet away, which again was fantastic, because she does not complain at home again about any of the issues we have. But the notion that we couldn't build a bathroom for these people, I think, of course we should. You know, we're there to help. So, and the other thing I guess I was thinking was this. You know, this is a 7.0 quake that they had, and they lost, and go through the statistics, but they lost so many people. We had a 7.2 3 months later in Baja California, about 100 miles from my house. In fact, I thought it was the big one, and I grabbed my 6-year-old daughter and was running out the door because I thought, oh, hell, this is the big one. But it turns out it was 100 miles away. We had 4 people die, only 4 people. We had, you know, some damage. We didn't have hundreds of thousands of people. We didn't have that kind of damage. So you don't want to build houses that are so cheap that they're going to fall down again. I mean, that'd be stupid. So we build these houses, you know, little tiny ones. People get in there, they fall in them. Whose fault? It's our fault. You know, so the scandal that I thought I was going to have and beat you up on, kind of got answered, just to be frank. So I guess I would just ask a little bit more about the issue of that port, because the home one kind of got answered for me. But the issue of the port, it is very difficult to build that kind of infrastructure. It is difficult to get an engineer there. How is that going to be worked out ultimately?
Well, I think what AID is thinking at this point is there's an increased recognition that the time needed to design and build a port was larger than was originally put forward in the activity approval document and then the U.S. strategy. So I think there's been a rethink of just the time horizon that's necessary to do something of this scale.
Okay, and the other thing I guess that I thought more money had actually been spent on the project. A lot of the money still haven't been spent, right? So I mean, they still seem to have the ability to pay for these things, right?
Right. Well, some of the money that's projected to go into the port and some of the money that is going into this housing, the vast majority of it is from the supplemental. There are some funds that are being contributed from annual appropriations, ESF appropriations, that have plussed up some of these over time to ensure there's enough funds to do the work.
Thank you. I yield back. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Mr. Weber.
Thank you. Dr. Gutnick, you're the Director of International Affairs and Trade at the GAO. How many employees are in your particular department?
The International Affairs and Trade team is about 120, 125. GAO-wide, we're with downsizing under 3,000 now.
Well, I'm most interested in the department that has oversight of what we're discussing here today. 120 under your supervision?
No, 120 in the group as a whole. We work as in a matrixed effort and work with staff across a number of different engagements.
Okay, and how about under your supervision?
Well, to do this work, for instance, there would have been 3 or 4 of us over time.
3 or 4 was over what time period?
This work was done over the course of about a year, okay, but not by any means full-time by all of those individuals.
Okay, so the Congress has appropriated this money. Are you telling me that 3 or 4 individuals are responsible for watching all that goes on over in Haiti?
No,
as it relates to this project, if you will, this relief effort?
No, I think we respond primarily to requests from committees of jurisdiction and also respond to mandates or directives that are put in legislation. So when the supplemental was established, we were asked to do work, and this is our 3rd report. In addition to GAO, you're going to have the Inspector General doing work based out of El Salvador, and then you're going to have the internal oversight of the program itself.
So all in all, would you say there's 10 American, or I guess government employees watching this process, 20, 30?
I'd have a hard time trying to put that kind of a number on it, sir. I'd say that there are different parts of the oversight community that are brought to bear on.
So it's safe to say it would be a good move for us to try to get a particular number, somebody who has accountability and responsibility for oversight in its entirety. When you say the Inspector General from El Salvador, I'm looking at a map here, you can't help but notice that the Dominican Republic is immediately east of Haiti. You've got Puerto Rico, British Virgin Islands, Jamaica. Of course, it's southeast of Cuba. It looks to be, I don't know, 20 or so miles, maybe. Are all of these countries helping in any form or fashion?
Well, the Inspector General at AID was provided $5 million, I believe. I'll check to make sure that's correct, in the supplemental appropriation to provide oversight of these funds. So there's one way in which the oversight of the project was resourced, if you will. GAO does not operate in quite the same way. We're not looking for a directed appropriation for a specific project. We operate with our annual appropriations to try to respond to congressional interest.
Okay. Let me move on just a little bit here. Do you have any knowledge, is the Dominican Republic of Puerto Rico, Jamaica, and others, are they helping with the relief effort?
Many countries have been involved. I can speak to the largest donors. None of those, I think, fall within the very largest donors. Puerto Rico, obviously, part of it.
You also mentioned that there was a South Korea garment facility, I think, in your comments.
Right. A very large South Korean firm was a key part of the public-private partnership that was the genesis of this industrial park. So,
have they invested money?
Sure. They are operating their firm. They are producing clothing and shipping it to the United States as we speak.
Do we have sufficient safeguards in place that they won't use what is tantamount to either slave labor or child labor?
It's an important question. I think it's been looked at. There is a minimum wage in Haiti, which is approximately $5 a day, as I understand it, and they are being paid at minimum wage. I can't speak directly, but I'm certainly aware through press and other sources that labor conditions are being observed and monitored.
And then let me just comment on the 450 square foot homes. When I was in the Texas legislature, my wife and I are RVers, recreational vehicle owners, and we travel and camp. I have a 40-foot fifth wheel that's 8 feet wide. It's 320 square feet. It sleeps 12 people. Wouldn't want to live in it full time if I didn't have to, but I can't tell you how much, and I did for 5 months out of every other year in the Texas legislature. But I can tell you that you make do with what you can, and I lived, and we've had kids live in a 320 square foot area for a week or two at a time. It's not the most optimal, but a grateful people, of course, ought to say 450 square feet with the bathroom would be just tremendous. So I just want to make that comment. Thank you, Doctor.
Right, and I would just add, for the record, that if you look at studies of the poor in Haiti, there are many studies that show that of those in extreme poverty in Port-au-Prince, the amount of square footage that you have to sleep, you may literally need to sleep in shifts because there isn't enough square footage for people to lie down.
Yeah. Thank you very much.
Mr. Barrett.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And thank you, Dr. Gutnick, for your testimony. Yeah, let me just look at some of the numbers. 51 million was what was allocated for housing. Is that correct?
$651 million was allocated across AID's entire portfolio in the supplemental appropriation.
Okay, great. And the goal was 4,000 new homes, and then leverage that with 15,000 plots, and again, leverage it for 11,000 additional homes?
Correct.
Is that correct? I found Mr. Vargas's comments actually very interesting. We're not talking about large dwellings. We're talking about, by U.S. standards, very small dwellings and very small shelter. But what worries me is, looking at our briefing materials, is it correct that 54% of the population lives on about $1 a day?
Yeah, I think of it as 70+% live on $2 or less, so some subset of that is going to live on $1 a day.
Okay. So it almost, again, as I'm thinking about it, and as we've questioned USAID and interacted with USAID, we're almost addressing issues at U.S. standards as opposed to looking at it in capacity building from Haitian standards. You just commented on the square footage that is available for a vast percentage of the population having to sleep in shifts. More a comment as opposed to a question. I just wonder if there's a better way to leverage the funds to impact a larger percentage of the population. And I'd be curious as to your thoughts. And it may be a question better for the USAID folks.
I would only comment that this is a population that's lived in deep and endemic poverty for many, many decades. And so how you reach a high percentage of those citizens with scarce dollars is probably the challenge that our development agencies struggle with every day.
But we're talking about pretty large sums by Haitian standards, in terms of the amount of aid that was raised, and even the amount of dollars that Congress allocated. It seems as though a fairly large amount in a very poor country that's going to address a small segment of the population, as opposed to really going after root cause issues to try to develop some systematic change to actually address the folks that probably were most impacted by the earthquake as well, which I would imagine the poorest were disproportionately impacted.
I think with respect to the housing, that's a very fair criticism that at the end of the day, a relatively small number of individuals will be beneficiaries. I think in fairness to the program effort, it has to be looked at in the context of other of the activities that related to shelter in the immediate aftermath and in the months and years that ensued that don't end up yielding permanent housing, but maintain people's roof over their shoulder for some period of time after a huge natural disaster.
Okay. And if I look at some of what's in our briefing, Haiti also has one of the largest wealth disparities in the world, with 68% of the total national income accruing to the wealthiest 20%. I have to also believe that, in construction and land ownership and so forth, with the level of corruption, I'm worried that some of those dollars that we're investing also disproportionately are benefiting the wealthiest, as opposed to leveraging those dollars to benefit the folks that are most affected. Would that be a fair?
Yes, Haiti, I think, is one of the most inequitable countries in the world, and there's plenty of academic literature to suggest that the more inequality, the harder it is to achieve development outcomes.
So I've got about 45 seconds left. One other thing, in a prior hearing in this full committee, in terms of promoting democracy, promoting fairness, one of our witnesses said one of the keys is land ownership, is property ownership, even if it's a small plot, to give you something and give you a stake in the game. And if I understand correctly, land ownership is very rare and property rights are very rare. That's correct in Haiti?
Yes, I would characterize it as obscure and arcane, but I think it's fair to say that in many cases it's not clear who owns land that an individual or a group of individuals may be living on, and in all likelihood, with respect to being able to actually claim full title to land, it's a small number of large landholders.
Right. So I would suggest, and I'm out of time, but one way to perhaps start fundamentally changing and putting in the seeds of democracy and stability would actually be looking at that rule of law and looking at that land ownership. We can't mandate that, but again, if there's a way that we can leverage our resources to try to put in some of that rule of law and some of those land ownerships, that's just a comment, not a question.
And if I could just remark, I think that's a very important comment, and there are programs through this reconstruction effort that are trying to get at that we, GAO, did not look at, and may be a good topic for discussion with the subsequent witnesses.
Thank you.
Mr. Perry.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and Dr. Goodnick, thanks for coming. I understand and recognize that you're not a representative of USAID, you're a GAO, so this is frustrating to listen to, quite frankly, and I know you don't have all the answers, but you're the person in front of us right now. And being a proponent of foreign assistance, and we have a lot in America, so we have a lot of responsibility, and these folks are our neighbors, and we should help. But it's hard to advocate to my constituents, the taxpayers who are paying the bill, who are willingly paying the bill, but say, we want to get the most out of our dollar, and you're sending it here, and we're obviously not. And I wonder, what are the systems of accountability? I mean, I see this report from the GAO, the Government Accountability Office, and the answer is kind of like, well, more reporting to Congress will help. More reporting of bad information to Congress won't help. What will help is either the same amount of reporting, more reporting, or less reporting of good information, of things that happened where we got the most bang for the buck. But more reporting is not going to change that. We're just going to be unhappy with the results. So what are the current systems of accountability for the money that's being spent?
Right. Well, I think with respect to our recommendation for reporting, we cited not only the end of the reporting requirement under the supplemental, but the quality of the reporting that came forward during the supplemental. And just as you implied, it would be more helpful in Congress's oversight to the extent that the reporting that was provided gave a full and accurate picture of the progress, but also the challenges and shortcomings of the effort that had taken place. With respect to the accountability and oversight broadly, as I think we've discussed, there are a range of mechanisms that seek to get at oversight and accountability of government expenditures in this kind of environment.
But they don't seem to be working, in my estimation, based on what I've heard, and I don't know if I'm getting partial information, but these statistics, if we live by them in our personal lives at home, where we're going to build this many houses and we're about a third of that for the same amount of money, and somehow we'd accept that as okay, we would not accept that. We would not accept that anywhere here. Somebody's head would be on a platter. Is there one point of contact? Is there one person at USAID that is responsible for this project? Who's at the top?
I think that would be the Office of the Haiti Coordinator would be the first place you'd want to go.
All right, so I would recommend to the committee that person come to this committee and give us a report.
I think he's your next witness.
Is he good? That'd be great. That'd be great. So get ready. I almost don't know where to start. I mean, it seems to me when you're living in a cardboard shack in a tropical country, having a 450-foot home, arguably it's probably a square cinder block or a concrete structure with a roof over the top of it, maybe a window, a couple windows, and a door. If you're used to living, or you've been forced to live in a cardboard home with a mud floor with an open sewer out front, because I've been to some of these third world countries, not particularly Haiti, but I've been to other environments that are very similar. It's a great step up to move into 450 square feet of concrete enclosed roof covered domicile where you can not be subject to the bugs and the environment, and you can move on with the rest of your life. And
It seems to me that that should have been our primary focus. And if I found a contractor in my own hometown and said, I want to build a development of X amount of houses, they would know immediately. This is open ground. We're not talking about tearing down the city and building new. We're talking about an open field. We just start digging and putting stuff in. You don't need a sidewalk the first day. You don't need running water the first day. You need a place to put your stuff and get out of the weather. That's what we should be focusing on. And it's appalling to me, and I think it would be appalling to most citizens, that that's not what we're focused on. And I beseech you as the GAO representative for us, that's what you should be focusing on, not the efficacy of reporting, the efficacy of getting something accomplished for the best bang for the buck. I got to tell you, I'm disappointed in this. This is just going to tell us where we're going to report more to Congress. La-di-da, that's great. It's going to be the same. We failed to provide. We failed to spend the taxpayers' money wisely. That's what we're going to hear more of. This is rhetorical, but should we be happy with this? What can you do? Is there something that we're not doing to empower you more? How can we help you help us?
Well, I think I need to think about that question before I give you an off-the-top answer. But in general, I would say that, sunlight is helpful. That's to say, the more something is observed, the more likely it's going to be accountable, it's going to be more transparent, and you may get more for the investment.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you. I yield.
Mr. Connolly.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And before I begin, I would ask unanimous consent that our colleague, the gentlelady from California, Maxine Waters, also be permitted to participate in this hearing.
Without objection.
I thank the chair. Dr. Goodnick, how often have you been to Haiti?
I've been to Haiti twice since the earthquake and a couple of times prior.
Okay. Just personally, on a scale of 0 to 10, in that time period, have you seen some progress? Assign it a number.
Well, the first time after the earthquake that I visited Haiti was about 6 months, right about the time of the supplemental appropriation, just after. And what you saw at that point in time was, in Port-au-Prince, rubble that had been only partially removed. So the challenge of removing the rubble, I think, is something I could not have envisioned until I was there 6 months later and then observed the scale of rubble that still existed, where main thoroughfares were a maze trying to get around piles of rubble that hadn't literally been removed, but had just been moved. And rubble was not simply removed, but was moved from place to place before it could be ultimately removed to its final location.
And to what do you ascribe that? I mean, there have been other disasters. The tsunami, for example, almost a decade ago, devastating parts of Sri Lanka, Indonesia, and that corner of the world, and yet recovery certainly, rubble was removed.
I guess I'd say the density of the infrastructure in Port-au-Prince, the quality of the infrastructure in Port-au-Prince, and the level of dysfunction in the city, the unworkable city that I think many people would say that it had been prior to this disaster.
Can we just focus on that a little bit? The dysfunction in the city. In various questions, you've indicated that home ownership, land ownership, which creates stakeholders in a community, is fairly rare, actually, among ordinary people. Is that correct?
Yeah, I think it is rare, and most people who live at $2 a day or less, and even those who live in better circumstances, are renters.
Would you describe a vibrant civic life existing in Haiti before or after the earthquake?
Yes, I would say one of the things that's impressive about Haiti is the vibrancy and resiliency of the citizenry.
And the government, functional?
I'd say the government has faced many challenges and has been seen to be a corrupt government for a long time.
You were just asked questions about oversight and accountability. Is the problem that AID adopted good, heroic metrics that just, upon reflection, were unrealistic in terms of meeting its goals and dispersing its funding?
Right. I think the goal of 15,000, which originally came, as I've said, in both the activity approval document, which was the first sort of project document submitted, and also in the U.S. government strategy for Haiti that was issued about a year after the earthquake, was probably grew out of a spirit of wanting to make this better and wanting to do the maximum amount that the U.S. government possibly could to achieve a better outcome for Haitians. And so it was overly optimistic.
Mr. Chairman, I understand the time limitations, and first of all, if I can suspend my time for a second, I would also ask unanimous consent that the gentlelady from New York, Yvette Clark, also be allowed to participate in this hearing.
Without objection, we'll go ahead and allow all the non-committee members to ask questions and speak after the second panel.
Is that
That'll be
agreeable?
acceptable.
I thank the chair.
Thank you.
I was going to actually defer to my colleague Barbara Lee to give her an opportunity to participate because she came here first. So I now would yield to my colleague, the gentlelady from California, Mrs. Lee.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman, and thank you for giving us the opportunity to participate with you today in this hearing. I served on this committee for over 10 years, and with Chairman Hyde and Chairman Lantos, and I'm glad to see it still remains bipartisan, given what we're dealing with here. So thank you again. Just a couple of questions on this. As it relates to the report, and also the legislation assessing progress in Haiti, and your presentation really reaffirms the need for this legislation. And I wanted to know if you've had a chance to look at it, what your suggestions would be, and also just wanted to ask you, in your report, you mentioned that 0.4% of the funds so far that have been allocated went to domestic Haitian NGOs and businesses. Have you drilled down a little bit on that to find out what the reason is for that and how that can be addressed? And we'll ask USAID that question also.
Right. With respect to 1749, the legislation that you've sponsored, because a large share of that contains a directive for GAO to do work, as is our practice, we've reached out to your staff and staff of some of the other co-sponsors of the legislation and had, I think, very good discussions about those parts of that directive to us that we think we could most effectively accomplish. In particular, those things that pertain directly to U.S. programs or activities. We believe that the first part, in particular, of the directive to GAO in 1749 is something that we would be eager to pursue. When you're looking at the extent to which Haitian civil society, Haitian actors have been involved in the process and the relationship amongst those different entities, it is harder for us, because it's not a direct look at a U.S. program and activity, for us to give you satisfactory answers to some of those questions. It relates to our audit authority and our access authority. We have made that clear to your staff, and I think we're looking at some maybe revisions in that regard. The other thing is you've outlined a project there that I think we would not be able to responsibly do in a 6-month time window, so we'd look for additional time to do that.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
I'm guilty of an oversight. I was so dazzled by the hat. I overlooked, and I regret my oversight. I would also ask unanimous consent that our colleague, the gentlelady from Florida, Ms. Frederica Wilson, also be recognized for participation in this hearing.
I welcome all our non-committee colleagues who are here today based on their longstanding interest in Haiti-related issues. And although the House and committee rules only entitle non-committee members to non-participatory attendance, I ask unanimous consent that they also be allowed to question the witnesses. After all, committee members, both majority and minority, have had their opportunity to do so after the second panel.
I thank the chairman.
Okay, Mr. Yoho.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Dr. Gutnick, I appreciate you being here, and I want to start off with kind of agreeing and disagreeing with Ms. Ross Layton in that the American people are very generous, they're very giving, very charitable. I agree 100% with that. But giving to foreign aid, I disagree with that, especially if our money is going and it's not accountable. It's not being held accountable. We hear it all the time from our constituents, you know, stop the foreign aid. And, you know, I know a certain amount of that is necessary, and we'll probably continue that. But to throw good money on top of bad, nobody wants to do that, and I know you guys don't either. And so I'm going to kind of reiterate, and I feel a lot the way Mr. Rohrabacher feels about if we're going to go in there, we should have American workforces in there. And some of my questions are going to be along the lines of what you've already heard. Who is running that country? Who's in charge of that country?
Well, Haiti's had a storied political past. Right now there is a president who was elected, Martelly, and
President Martelly.
Yes.
I mean, the report I have right here in front of me, I mean, it says Haiti is a hellhole. You know, not the people are great. The country's beautiful. It's the government, the corruption that's been there for the last 30, 40 years. That's kept those people repressed. It's prevented the growth of that economy, and it's a corrupt government. So Dr. Martelly is in charge. He's the president. The form of government, is it a democracy?
it's a mixed presidential parliamentary system where there is a prime minister and a bicameral legislature.
In your opinion, how stable do you think it is?
Well, there have been in the past, since the earthquake certainly, challenges to fully holding elections that are considered legitimate and also to form a government.
And the next election's in 2015?
I said the last election. The election that the election of President Martelly was, I believe, the first time that there had been a peaceful transition from one president to another of a different party. It had occurred within the same party. This was a transition to a different party. That was marked by a lot of fractiousness in terms of the president's ability to appoint a prime minister.
Okay.
And that took a better part of a year, and some of the prime ministers have not.
In your opinion, how efficient is that government as far as doing the basic fundamental needs that a government should provide to their country?
Well, I can speak better to the capacity constraints of the civil service. I think the civil service there is weak. It is not always paid or paid properly and on time, and that is a situation that is set up for corruption. And at the same time, there is, like many places, while there's an educated cadre, there's a lot of brain drain, and many of the most educated individuals in Haiti are coming to the United States and Canada and elsewhere.
Right. I'm from Florida, so I'm aware of that. Let me ask you this. They have a constitution, right?
Yes.
And that constitution, does that provide for individual property rights to own property?
You know,
and does the government acknowledge that?
I'd have to look into that and get you an answer.
If you could give me an answer, I'd love that. Along those lines, you were talking about these houses around 450 square feet. Do you know a cost estimate per house of what we're paying for that?
Yeah, at this point, the cost of the plot is about just shy of $10,000. That's
for a house.
That's for the plot, and the house itself about $23,000.
So I thought you said the government owns the land.
The government owns the land.
So why is it costing $10,000?
The cost of the plot is really the cost of the site, the land on which all of the homes in a community are being built, divided by the number of homes. So the cost of a plot is the prorated share of the road, the grading, the retaining walls.
Okay, let me just stop you there. If we're paying $10,000 for a plot that has a 450 square foot house, that's $200 a square foot building cost. I mean, that's outrageous in a country that they're paying $5 a day for labor, and then those people have to pay $35 a month to rent a house they don't even own. That whole system's wrong, and for us to throw money on top of that would be like building a great ocean liner and loading it up with all the things you need in the ocean liner, but having an incompetent person running that, and that would be the government. And so for us to continue to do that, I just can't find, until we change the government and the way, I don't want to change the government, but until we have a more accountable, to throw money on something like that is just, we've already spent half of $651 million, roughly.
We've obligated that amount, yeah.
To continue that at this point in time in our economy, when we're furloughing people, we can't have our parks open, is just unconscionable to the American people. And for us to continue this, to keep Haiti in that kind of a deadlock to where they're not going to grow out of that economically, I think we need to rethink this whole process, and I appreciate your time here, and I yield back. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Sherman.
It's interesting to have you say that paying your civil servants on time is a sign of competent government. how
Just
how
keep
has
that in
how has
mind.
the U.S. government shutdown affected our activities in Haiti?
I think I'd ask you to direct that question to State and Aid. I can tell you that with respect to GAO, to the oversight that we're able to do, our routine oversight has been shut down.
This hearing is about aid, but trade is more effective. I would hope that you'd respond for the record what we could do to import less textiles from China and more from Haiti, whether that would involve declaring China a currency manipulator, which has the additional advantage of being true, or using the old textile quota system to allocate less to China and more to Haiti, what we could do to give Haiti access to the U.S. markets on more favorable terms. I don't know if you have any preliminary comments on that.
Well, you're outside my area of expertise a little bit, but I can tell you that the two pieces of legislation, the so-called HOPE Act and the HELP Act, which are trade preferences, in one case for Haiti and in another case for the broader Caribbean, are important tools of U.S. policy that have encouraged exports from Haiti and elsewhere in the Caribbean, particularly in the area of textiles.
But that was not a circumstance where we reduced imports from China. We just increased imports from the Caribbean. With that, I'd like to yield to the gentlelady from California, Maxine Waters.
Thank you very much. I wanted to get into our concerns about Haitians being able to participate in the opportunities that are present for redevelopment. I spent some time in Haiti looking at this question, and I took a look at the information that's put out in proposals and found that none of that information is in Creole, that some of the requirements of the USAID contracts are such that it requires certain kind of experience that that Haitians do not have. And I've been looking for more joint ventures so that Haitians could, realize, income from USAID projects and be able to improve their communities and create jobs. So why is it you've not been able to provide the kind of assistance, technical and otherwise, to Haitians so that they would be able to respond to these requests for proposals or participate in joint ventures?
Right. I think that's a good question, perhaps to direct to State and AID. I think as we were discussing earlier, this is a balance. When funds are moving through a U.S. firm or a large NGO, you have more assurances and more ability to ensure accountability. On the other hand, it's a priority in development to try to empower and to provide, to have services provided by the local service providers, local NGOs, local civil society, and firms wherever possible.
If I may, the Haitians will never be able to provide you with the kind of experience that would be required in these proposals unless you do more joint venturing and require that of major corporations to do training and bring people into those proposals in ways that they can learn and they can eventually respond themselves. But you have no requirements anywhere, and then you don't have the language in the proposals. So really, you don't have a program. USAID, really, you don't have a way by which you're empowering Haitians to do business with you.
Right. Well, as GAO, as the oversight entity, that's something we could look into on your behalf, but as the implementer, I think you need to direct that question to AID itself.
Oh, all right. Whoever would like to respond. Okay, thank you. Okay. I yield back the balance.
One more question would be, what can we do to analyze the issue of whether we need to provide more quantity of housing or more quality of housing? Is there an argument to be made, or are we pretty much building the type of housing that meets minimum standards and tries to make a dent in the overall demand?
Right. I think that's a really excellent question, and I'm not sure I can answer it, but I would add one more dimension to it. That's to say, in addition to quality versus quantity or size versus cost, I would add location. So if you look at the initial plans of where housing would be built, there was more an effort to build houses in the directly earthquake-affected areas. That turned out to be a particular challenge, and most of the housing is being built outside. So I would look at where as well.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Gutnick. We appreciate your testimony, and we'd like to excuse you and seat the next panel.
Thank you.
In September of 2010, Thomas C. Adams was named Special Coordinator for Haiti by then Secretary of State Hillary Clinton. Mr. Adams' career with the U.S. government has spanned more than 35 years, with much of it focused on managing foreign assistance. Thank you for being here. Elizabeth Hogan is the Senior Deputy Assistant Administrator for USAID's Bureau of Latin America and the Caribbean. Previously, she served as the Director of the agency's Haiti Task Team, overseeing reconstruction efforts after the 2010 earthquake. We'll now ask our witnesses to summarize their statements, beginning with Mr. Adams.
Thank you, Chairman Salmon, and members of the committee. Thank you for this opportunity to appear before you with my colleague Beth Hogan from USAID to discuss the U.S. government's engagement with Haiti, with a particular focus on our foreign assistance. I welcome the chance to provide a brief overview of where we are in those efforts, to describe next steps, and to answer your questions. With your permission, I would like to submit my full testimony for the record and make a brief oral statement. The ties that link the United States and Haiti are broad and deep. Following the devastating January 2010 earthquake, an estimated 1 out of 2 U.S. households made some contribution to relief efforts for Haiti. Congress likewise was quick to respond to that country's needs, appropriating $1.3 billion in supplemental funding. Even before the earthquake in 2009, this administration was conducting a whole-of-government review of U.S. engagement in Haiti, with Haiti, to help put the country on a more solid and sustainable foundation. The result was a new tack focusing on economic development and growth and encouraging decentralization. This approach mirrors that of the government of Haiti and its post-earthquake reconstruction plan. So where do things stand now in helping Haitians build a better future? Clearly, there is still much to be done. To be frank, we all hoped we'd be further along by now. Nevertheless, there are signs of progress in Haiti, reasons to consider the glass half full, if you will, and we are not finished. It is worth bearing in mind the point at which Haiti started. The 2010 earthquake traumatized a country already facing uphill struggles, and like the country's population as a whole, Haiti's weak governing institutions were left shocked and reeling from the earthquake. And as a result, crucial decisions to recovery were often deferred or delayed. Furthermore, 2010 was an election year in Haiti. In March 2011, Michael Martelly was elected after 2 rounds of voting as president of Haiti. He entered his office in May of that year on a pledge to speed up Haiti's rebuilding. Overdue elections are a current concern in Haiti, with nearly all municipal offices and 1/3 of the Senate seats expired. The Haitian executive and legislative branches have yet to agree on the timing and scope of these overdue elections. We, along with other donor countries and international institutions, including the Organization of American States and the United Nations, have urged the President and Parliament to reach agreement, and we remain engaged on this important issue. Besides the effects of the earthquake, Haitians' resilience was also repeatedly tested over the past 3 years as the country experienced an outbreak of cholera, suffered a significant drought, and was buffeted by hurricanes and tropical storms. Under all these circumstances, Haiti has perhaps made about as much progress in its recovery as history might lead one to expect. No one would deny that much remains to be done in Haiti, but as I said, there is progress to report. If you visited Haiti today, you would remark on the virtual absence of earthquake rubble, and the camps for internally displaced persons, which used to take up every square inch of free space in Port-au-Prince, are dramatically reduced in size and number. While focusing our assistance on the most pressing humanitarian needs immediately following the earthquake, we've also made headway against broader systematic challenges. We currently provide approximately 50% of Haiti's population with access to health care. With our help, the government of Haiti is taking increasing ownership of this system. The key to sustainable improvement in Haiti lies not in the generosity of donors, but in the creation of economic opportunity. There is not enough donor money to fix everything wrong in Haiti. U.S. support for Haiti's Caracol Industrial Park is one example of our comprehensive effort to help Haiti attract investment and to create needed jobs. Congress, through the HOPE 2, and HELP Acts, has helped to make Haiti a more attractive place to invest, with 8,000 new apparel sector jobs created since 2007 in Caracol and the other industrial parks. Agriculture is another area where our efforts to boost economic opportunity are yielding significant results. Our agricultural programs are benefiting some 100,000 farmers, helping to increase crop yield, create new markets, and boost farmer income. Building durable Haitian institutions remains a priority of the U.S. and other donors. Without good governance, economic growth in Haiti is built on unreliable foundations. We speak plainly and often with Haitians about the need for new laws and reforms to strengthen the rule of law and improve the business climate. And we complement these discussions with programs to help the Haitians advance these priorities, including providing specialized expertise to Parliament and funding an integrated financial management system for the government of Haiti. With strong U.S. support, Haiti in 2012 took a significant step toward judicial reform with the establishment of a Superior Judicial Council, a new body that will provide independent oversight of the judiciary and to which we are providing technical support. We are working to build capacity in the Haitian National Police, providing equipment, uniforms, food, and other essential supplies for new police cadets. I've been describing the progress that U.S. assistance has helped Haiti achieve in its effort to rebuild, but I do not mean to minimize the challenges still ahead. Make no mistake, it will take many more years to make the kinds of far-reaching and lasting improvements we all wish to see in Haiti. Toward that goal, we need to maintain an open and frank dialogue with the Haitians and focus on how we can help that country's institutions build their capacity to be effective providers of basic services to the Haitian people. To a very real degree, that type of progress cannot move more quickly than the Haitians are capable of taking on. But I take a positive view of this challenge and believe that our continued long-term commitment, the United States, is helping Haitians to achieve a better future. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Ms. Hogan.
Mr. Chairman, Ranking Member Engel, and members of the committee, thank you for the opportunity to appear before you today. I appreciate the committee's interest in USAID's efforts in Haiti. I, too, have submitted a written testimony for the record and will proceed with a short opening statement. Nearly 4 years after the earthquake, we have seen notable success across our portfolio. We have helped boost the income of small-scale farmers whose crop yields sharply increased from USAID's interventions. We have helped find shelter solutions for more than 328,000 formerly displaced persons. To accelerate the job-creating potential of the private sector, we are assisting financial institutions to provide small businesses with access to credit. And according to the latest Demographic Health Survey, health indicators, particularly for women and children, have improved dramatically over the last 5 years. Central to the U.S. government's assistance strategy in Haiti is a commitment to doing business differently. As we implement our program, USAID is building the capacity of key Haitian institutions like the Ministries of Health, Finance, and Agriculture. Our goal in Haiti, as in the rest of the region, is to strengthen local capacity to the point where the country can lead and finance its own development. In addition to partnering more closely with the Haitian public sector, we are tapping into the resources, markets, and technologies of the private sector. For example, we are working with Coca-Cola and the local Heineken subsidiary to improve the productivity and incomes of small-scale farmers. We also launched an innovative business plan competition that provides matching grants to small businesses to expand their operations and create jobs. One of the winners is a Haitian entrepreneur who founded a recycling company that works to clean up public spaces while providing extra cash to over 6,000 Haitians who turn in discarded bottles. He was able to expand his operations, collecting, compacting, and shipping nearly 300 million plastic bottles for further processing last year alone. But ultimately, donor and private sector resources will not solve Haiti's development challenges, which is why building the capacity of government institutions is so critical to our long-term success. USAID is helping to strengthen local municipalities' efforts to raise revenues to pay for basic services. In the Carrefour municipality, for instance, USAID supported a program to help increase tax collection, and between 2011 and 2012, they increased their tax revenues by 481% in just 1 year. Over the years, our programs and approach have improved thanks to extensive consultations with Congress, Haitians, civil society, and the diaspora community. As such, we welcome the scrutiny and recommendations of the GAO. We are pleased that the GAO acknowledged that we completed the power plant for the Caracol Industrial Park on time and under budget. The GAO report also examined the construction of a new greenfield port. According to the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers and other agencies with ports expertise, planning and designing a new port takes up to 5 years. We are on schedule to complete the planning and design work in that time frame. To address another GAO recommendation, we are finalizing an agreement with the Army Corps of Engineers to embed a ports advisor in our Haiti mission. In regards to the GAO comments on our shelter program, we acknowledge that we face challenges meeting our original expectations. Construction costs significantly exceeded the initial estimates. These initial estimates did not adequately address the cost of meeting international building codes, federal building standards, disaster resistance standards, and underestimated the rising cost of materials in a post-disaster setting. The government of Haiti's design changes also added to the increased cost. Other factors, such as complications in clarifying land title and reduced donor participation, also led to construction delays and reduced housing estimates. We are working to ensure that USAID-funded settlements are sustainable and do not slip into disrepair. To mitigate these risks, and in line with the GAO's recommendations, we're funding community development programs to ensure proper maintenance and sustainability. It is important to note that Haiti faced large-scale housing shortages even before the earthquake. Therefore, new housing construction was never considered to be the sole answer to meeting Haiti's housing needs. Looking forward, we are working on a full range of approaches that will provide shelter solutions to many more than the 328,000 beneficiaries we've reached so far. For example, we're partnering with Haitian financial institutions to stimulate a local housing finance market. We are also piloting a program in an informal settlement to help residents access loans for housing repairs and construction of new homes. In conclusion, I want to thank Congress for its generous support of our work in Haiti. USAID is committed to keeping you informed on our progress as well as our challenges as we move forward. Thank you again for this opportunity to testify, and I look forward to your questions.
Thank you. I'd like to direct my questions to Mr. Adams. The United States has invested hundreds of millions of dollars in Haiti in the form of aid, and governments of both the U.S. and Haiti encourage American enterprise to invest in Haiti. However, we do not have a bilateral investment treaty that would provide U.S. investors an assurance of fair treatment in that country and afford them international arbitration of disputes with the Haitian government. Bilateral investment treaty was negotiated by the U.S. and Haiti in 1983, but it's not yet been ratified. Isn't it time to put that treaty in place?
That's an excellent point, and I've had discussions with my colleagues in the United States Treasury Department who, as you know, negotiate those and encourage them to do it. And the simple answer is that Treasury prioritizes, because of lack of resources to do all of these at once, to the largest trading partners, and Haiti being a relatively small one, they're down the list, but I will certainly convey to them your interest in seeing this one moved up the line, and I agree with it.
Well, as we continue to invest U.S. taxpayer dollars in supporting Haiti's reconstruction, we've also got to make sure that the Haitian government is creating an environment that allows the private sector to play a role in the country's development. Is the government of Haiti providing a level playing field to our foreign investors, to American investors?
That's a very good question. I think the answer is generally yes. Haiti does allow for international arbitration in contracts, and it abides by the ruling of international arbitrators. And given the state of Haiti's judicial system, investors are reluctant to trust the Haitian courts to resolve commercial disputes. So that is one way to get around it. So yeah, I do think American firms have a level playing field. An American firm just won the largest contract I think the government of Haiti has given out recently on rebuilding the port in Port-au-Prince for some $70 million.
Members of the committee have received some reports of an American company, Trilogy International Partners of Bellevue, Washington, that has been put through a one-year ordeal by Haitian tax authorities in a process that has lacked transparency and does not appear to be grounded in the due process of law. Can you provide an update on that situation and what treatment of Trilogy says about the investment climate in Haiti?
Yeah, I talk to Trilogy quite often on this, and I can't go into too much detail because of confidential business information, but our economic and commercial section of the embassy has been actively engaged with Trilogy and with other U.S. firms who have disputes there. And all I can say is I think the differences between the government of Haiti, this is a tax issue basically, have been narrowed considerably, and I think I think we can resolve this with a little more time.
Appreciate anything you could do.
Thank you, sir.
I yield back, and I recognize Mr. Engel.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Let me first of all welcome both of you. I want to also welcome our colleagues who are not members of the committee, but each of whom have interests and a lot of good work behind them through the years involving Haiti. Ms. Waters, who certainly has worked hard on the issue. Ms. Lee, whom we mentioned before, who has been relentless in doing it. Ms. Wilson, who has the largest Haitian American community, I believe, of any community, any district in the country, in her Florida district, and of course Yvette Clark of my home state of New York, the largest Haitian community in New York. So, welcome. We are all united in caring very, very much about what goes on in that island and the responsibility. I have so many questions to ask you, both of you, that I can hardly get it in the allotted minutes. But let me just say this. In my opening statement, I made reference to the fact that Haitian authorities are feeling left out of the decision-making process, as well as the implementation process of our assistance. Among the goals of our assistance program, we've tried to resolve the capacity problems in the Haitian government, because obviously they remain our indispensable partners in doing this. Can you, both of you, please describe the current capacity of the Haitian government to decide upon and implement aid programs? Have efforts to improve the capacity of the government been successful? Are other governmental and non-governmental donors going around the Haitians or working closely with them? So, Ms. Hogan, why don't we start with you?
Thank you very much for that question. As I said in my opening statement, we are doing business differently in Haiti, and we are not working around the government. Rather, we are embedding advisors in key government ministries in order to help them develop the infrastructure, both governance, procurement, management information systems, merit-based staffing, et cetera, so that they can ultimately get to the point where they can manage themselves without the need for external assistance. I think that we are seeing results already. For example, we have an integrated financial management system that we have now seen through the Ministry of Finance connect up all government ministries' budgets so that that will provide for the first time, control and transparency of government of Haiti expenditures. That's a very important first step. However, we've got a long way to go. One of the things we would like to ultimately be able to do is work government to government and fund government agencies directly. I think we're further advanced with the Ministry of Health than we are anywhere else because, along with the World Bank, USAID has been working with them for several years now in developing their internal systems. But we are still, as I say, a ways off before they're going to be able to account for every dollar that is invested. We're on a path, we're not there, but we are heading in the right direction.
Thank you, Mr. Adams.
Let me just add one thing to that. What you described usually takes the form of the government of Haiti asking us to provide budget support, i.e. funding directly to the government of Haiti rather than running it through contractors and grantees. They had a meeting of their first meeting of their new coordinating mechanism, which they are in charge of. And on the margins of that, we reached agreement, donors in the government of Haiti, because they ask this of all donors, that we will support measures to increase governmental transparency there, because that's our biggest complaint. And the reason we don't give money directly to the government of Haiti is because we don't have any assurances that it will be accounted for accurately. The Prime Minister took this up. He has appointed very good people on this, and 2 months ago we kicked off this transparency initiative. And hopefully, the two biggest complaints we have on transparency is they don't audit government expenditures and income, and the other complaint is they don't prosecute people for public corruption. So I think those are sort of two benchmarks that we want to work with them on resolving.
Thank you. Our first witness was from the GAO, and according to the GAO report, of the 15,000 houses originally planned, only 2,649 are expected to be completed. That's really not good. With USAID building 906 houses, and NGOs and other partner donors estimated to build 1,743. In addition, cost estimates were widely off base, over 300,000%. So can you break this down for us? And what caused the changes in the overruns? And looking forward, what are the key issues that have been learned regarding this issue? And what changes and improvements do you plan to make? Ms. Hogan.
Thank you very much for your question. Actually, our housing numbers have been revised slightly since the GAO report was submitted to you, and we are now estimating that we will build 3,100 homes. This is in part due to cooperation that we have had with the American Red Cross and the government of Qatar that have also given us resources to build houses on the sites that we will develop for them. So in total, we will build 3,100 homes, and we have another 750 plots that have been serviced and are there and ready and available if other donors or if other buyers want to come in and build homes there.
But why were we so off on the estimates of how many homes we would build and what the cost would be?
Thank you. We were significantly off in terms of what our original estimates were. We based that on a survey, a very quick survey we did in the middle of the crisis when we were trying to stand up our new strategy of what NGOs spent in building homes in Haiti. And at that time, it was roughly $10,000 a home. When we got on the ground and were able to do our own government independent cost estimate, that number doubled. And so we realized early on that our estimates were off. Then when we put the procurement out to bid and got back bids from offerers who were going to actually build these homes, they were increased, the estimates were increased even further. Again, it's because of the requirements that we put into our solicitation document, that it meet international building codes, that it comply with federal building standards, that these materials would be disaster and hurricane proof. We also required that they insure their workers and that they provide safety equipment to their workers. These are higher standards that we are accountable for as a U.S. government than would be local actors. And so all of that increased the cost of those individual homes. And what we realized as we were going into this, and that we would only be able to afford the 3,100 new homes, is that new homes isn't the solution for Haiti. The solution for Haiti is helping to generate a local housing finance market so that people can access microloans to either improve their homes or to expand their homes for rental opportunities or to build new homes. We have had an excellent experience in one community in Port-au-Prince called Rivière Pintade, where we were able to rehabilitate 620 houses by investing about $8.5 million there. We were able to help them build a retaining wall, improve their drainage, improve their sanitation, helping them do rainwater harvesting, and also develop footbridges, streets, lighting, et cetera. So we see that neighborhood reconstruction is really the way to go forward to be able to reach the numbers, in fact, beyond the numbers than we would have reached through single-family housing.
Can you come to Congress and brief us on this program? Because I think it would be very, very important. And I know I'm way over my time, Mr. Chairman, but I just want to ask one question. One of the primary obstacles to reconstruction is secure land tenure. And how has USAID prioritized this issue to ensure the security of U.S. investments and the long-term development in Haiti?
Thank you for the question. Let me begin by saying that the land tenure situation in Haiti is more a political problem than it is a technical problem. And the Haitians need to take the lead in revitalizing a land tenure system. We're prepared to help them, but they need to take the tough political choices and be able to move forward. What we have done, however, is through a local coalition of housing organizations helped for the first time develop a booklet that is both in French and Creole that explains how one acquires legally land title in Haiti. This has never been written down before because that's why you have 2 or 3 and 5 people who all have title to the same land, because depending which notary you go to, you'll get different advice. So at least we have transparency now established and a very clear line that has been accepted by all of the stakeholders as the way in which one goes about securing land in Haiti. So it's a big step forward, but there are big political decisions to make as well.
Thank you, Ms. Hogan. Thank you, Madam Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Engel, and thank you to our witnesses. I guess it takes much more U.S. taxpayer dollars to be wasted for a member of Congress to call it a scandal. In the 2010 supplemental, $651 million was allocated to USAID to support relief and reconstruction efforts. 3 years later, just 35% of these funds have been spent as delays mount and goals are scaled back. In fiscal year 2011, $370 million was allocated to Haiti programs, but yet only a little more than half, $194 million, has been distributed to date. In fiscal year 2012, $351 million was allocated, and only $90 million has been disbursed. This backlog of funding and the amount of money left in the pipeline for Haiti is in the hundreds of millions of dollars, and I'm concerned that the team in place cannot handle the oversight over these crucial funds. The amount of money should give us the necessary leverage to help even more people in Haiti. The American people deserve better, and more importantly, the Haitian people deserve better. So yes, colleagues, this is a scandal. I recognize that our work in Haiti continues to be a challenge, and the conditions on the ground are not easy. However, the narrative of let's blame the Haitians for our own faults needs to stop now. As representatives of USAID and state, your agencies are in charge of U.S. taxpayer dollars that are being used in Haiti. The findings in the GAO report were alarming, and to make matters worse, Congress and specifically members of this committee were not consulted nor briefed over these serious deficiencies in our programming. When it comes to the port, for example, the project is seriously delayed. We do not have a private sector partner at this time. We do not even know what the final cost will be. Yet the success of the North Industrial Park is dependent upon the completion of the port. The administration estimated that the park would produce 20,000 to 65,000 much-needed jobs. It is discouraging that not even 2,000 Haitians are employed at the park at the moment. Moving on to the housing shelters, I'm concerned about the plumbing situation at the housing settlements because it has more than doubled the cost of these homes. If not maintained well, we risk endangering the health of the very people that we are trying to help in these communities. In addition, I'm concerned with the families in these settlements, that whether they own the house, as we've talked about, they own the house but not the land. The land is owned by the Haitian government. What mechanisms do we have in place to stop the government from overtaking these homes? And Assistant Administrator Hogan, what specific changes in your office are you making to fully comply with all of the GAO recommendations, or do you not agree with some of the recommendations? I'm also concerned about the security situation in Haiti. While the UN stabilization mission in Haiti is planning on shutting down their operations, more emphasis needs to be given to the Haitian National Police, known as HNP. And I'm very pleased that Secretary Brownfield and the INL, which is handles the narcotics and law enforcement at state, has partnered with our very fine Miami-Dade Police Department in helping to train the Haitian National Police, the HNP. To this date, more than 60 HNPs have been trained in South Florida, and I hope more to come. The security situation has to be stable in order to hold free, fair, and transparent elections in Haiti. It's so disappointing that local and senatorial elections in Haiti have been delayed for more than 2 years, and I urge the President of Haiti to call the Haitian Parliament back into session to agree to an electoral law and schedule elections as quickly as possible. Let me be clear, ruling by decree or dissolving Parliament is not acceptable. Can you provide us with an update on the elections? What are we doing to foster civil society engagement? And lastly, private businesses are very worried that the Haitian government is not abiding by its obligations to promote fair business practices. U.S. companies have grievances against the government of Haiti. Special Coordinator Adams, given the fact that U.S. investors are already reluctant to invest in Haiti due to uncertainty, how can you please describe what the business environment is right now for Haiti and for U.S. businesses operating in Haiti? Thank you. Thank you.
Sure, I'll start. I think there are 4 or 5 questions in there. On the business climate, the government of Haiti has come out and said Haiti is open for business. We want to get business, but they have done precious little to really make Haiti open for business, in the sense that a number of key laws need to be passed by Parliament. The Haitian Parliament has been singularly unproductive this last year, passing something like 9 laws in total. And obviously, they need to pick up their game. Haiti needs a new anti-corruption law. They need modern laws to allow for electronic signatures and better business practices. They need a law to make it easier to register a new business. They need a law to make it easier to get a construction permit. I could go on, but you get the idea. And so part and parcel of that is having this political peace between the executive and the parliament. I was down there last week meeting with them, saying they need to find a better way to work together. The irony wasn't lost on them about our own situation, I should mention.
No, if you will excuse me, I know that is a cute dig, but you surely are not comparing the United States government
and I tell them
with any government in the world. When we have, I mean, we're talking about a country we're trying to help, which have invested millions of dollars, and they don't have elections. They're not registering people. They're not calling for elections. Do you think that having U.S. businesses do business in Haiti, in a place where there's no due process, we have U.S. companies that have filed complaints with the Haitian government, and we want to say that Haiti is open for business? What about all of the complaints that U.S. firms have already filed? And you can make digs at the U.S. government, but please don't compare my adopted homeland, the greatest country on earth, to any country in the world.
No, and I'm sorry if I gave that impression. But we have a very active economic commercial section which helps Americans get business down there and helps resolve disputes. And I can't go into cases too much, but let me just say not all American businesses that go down to Haiti are purely ethical and honorable. So sometimes the disputes, while there is a dispute between an American company, the Haitians are right. Often the Haitians are wrong, and so we sort these cases out individually. On the elections, they're 2 years overdue, and we constantly tell the Haitians that we have some expectations of the Haitian government. One is that they be seen as democratic. Democracies have elections on schedule. They have free and fair elections. We also expect them to curb corruption. To work to curb corruption. There's been some progress there. There needs to be more. This government has filed more anti-corruption cases than any of their predecessors have. The weakness is they don't prosecute them successfully because they need a new anti-corruption law. They say their current law makes that difficult. They also need to address human rights issues.
I'm sorry, I'm over time
Okay.
as well. So sorry, I did not realize. I apologize to our members. Thank you, and I'm sorry I did not give you a chance. Thank you. Mr. Meeks is recognized.
Thank you, Madam
And we
Chair.
can go over because we both went over.
Let me first ask, I guess, Ms. Hogan, one of the issues that we seem like the first mistake was made in the underestimation. So my first question is, in the beginning, did we do any consultations with the Haitians on the size, et cetera? Because as I said to Mr. Goodnick, that it seems to me in 2013 to build a home without the infrastructure necessary to at least have a sewer system so that people could have plumbing in their homes, that would have been a non-starter in the beginning. And I would imagine that if you had talked to anyone from Haiti initially in that regards, then that would have come up then at the time of the initial estimate, so we wouldn't be talking about overruns now, which then causes the difficulties that we're having in trying to move forward. So I was wondering what, if any, consultation you had with the Haitians in the beginning process with reference to coming up with the estimates that we're coming up with as to what the size, and what should be there.
Sorry. Yes, indeed, we did have initial consultations with the government of Haiti in terms of its expectations. One of the drivers of the cost, however, was not so much the indoor plumbing, but whether it was rain-fed or piped. We had initially anticipated doing piped stands so that people could collect water outside their home and bring it inside, and also have cisterns above their roofs to collect rainwater and feed it that way. What the government of Haiti really wants to do is create a prototype for what is dignified housing for low-income populations. And I should say that they're using the same design for their housing that they're building with their own resources. They have a social housing site, infrastructure site now, which is the first of its kind in Haiti, funded by the government of Haiti, that has about 2,000 units under construction, and it's very similar in size to the houses that we have built, and it also includes this indoor plumbing as well. So they're not holding us to a higher standard than themselves, and in fact, I think that this is, although a very modest home, by anyone's standards, it's a dream come true for whoever, gets to live in that kind of space.
But clearly, then their expectations of what they're asking for, the aspirations of their people is not out of there. They're not asking for mansions. They're asking for something that would be reasonable for, the situation that you have in Haiti. And, at the time that after the terrible earthquake, what the thought was, well, here we have an opportunity to start from scratch. Scratch meaning infrastructure building, et cetera. And thereby including what, what the people want, because they're going to have to live there for a long time, and it needs to be something that's sustainable, not something that has to be done again in the next 5 or 10 years. And I think that from what I'm hearing, what they were talking about is something that would be more sustainable and more long-lasting. And I mean, I think that kind of should be very important to include that in. You also talked about a number of capacity building projects. Now, what metric are you using? How many, can you tell us how many companies that are Haitian that are receiving help to build this capacity? What number? What's the percentages? Are there any goals that you have set place? Do you have that information?
Yes, I do. I would want to say that first, in terms of reaching local Haitian institutions, we have gone from $1 million of direct awards to Haitian institutions in 2011 to $10.1 million. So we have a metric of increasingly working through local institutions, and the metric is 17%. We are trying to reach 17% of our overall budget to be channeled through local institutions. It's a very time-consuming goal because it requires us to hire CPA firms to work with those institutions to develop the kind of accounting systems that would allow us to invest USG resources and for them to be accountable for them. So, but it's a worthy goal because ultimately they've got to develop that capacity in order to manage their own development goods. Another example is in the health sector, where we have performance-based contracting now in place, whereby the government of Haiti has to reach the government of Haiti's Ministry of Health has to reach certain benchmarks, and these are negotiated with them up front in terms of health gains, and then we pay as they reach those gains. So that's another way in which we're building the capacity of the health system going forward.
Let me add, and Mr. Adams, in your testimony, in reviewing your testimony, you talked about that there were staffing issues that slowed the process, especially as well as procurement and contracting challenges. Is there a mechanism in your procurement and contracting challenges for, and I think Congresswoman Waters was going in that direction earlier, for joint venture projects with Haitian companies and Haitian businesses, and are there any goals in that regard so that there are Haitian businesses that are being stabilized and able to come up so that they can live on their own?
Yeah, that's a very good question. Staffing after the earthquake, we had staffing challenges for a number of reasons. One is our employees need to be in safe housing. A lot of our housing was destroyed during the earthquake, so we had some constraints on sending people down there, particularly long term, and we still have those to a certain degree. I think the aid mission, for example, is understaffed, frankly. And we need to grow its capacity and are taking some steps to do that. Similarly, other U.S. government agencies working down there on contracting, the Bureau of International Narcotics and Law Enforcement, as well as USAID, has had some contracting challenges, we admit. I think we've strengthened our teams working in both these areas, both for INL and for USAID, and I think we can claw back at the backlog of procurement that we have down there.
Lastly, let me just ask this, because there's a number of individuals in the Haitian diaspora who are tireless in their efforts to raise the awareness and the plight about the Haitian people and what's happening there. Is there a role that you see that the Haitian diaspora can play in helping development, and if so, what is that role, and and what are the opportunities that members of the Haitian diaspora can participate so that they can be involved there?
Certainly. I talk often to the diaspora. In fact, I've traveled to many cities in this country along with Beth and others from USAID to talk to the diaspora about how they can contribute and how they can get U.S. government contracts and grants, which many of them seek, but also other ways to help in Haiti. Many members of the diaspora are helping in Haiti in any number of ways, large and small. And certainly 2 members of my own staff are Haitian Americans, very valuable ones. And we are always glad to talk to the diaspora about helping. But I think 2 things need to be borne in mind here. Is one, they often ask for a set-aside for Haitian Americans, and we have to remind them that that's against our law. And the other thing is to tell them that our goal is really to create jobs for Haitians, and that's an overriding effort on our part. But we do work very closely with the diaspora and appreciate their contributions. Beth may want to add to that.
I would like to point out that the first housing complex where people are now moving in was built by a Haitian American firm. and we're very happy with the quality of what we've seen that firm produce. So we're very excited about people actually getting keys, moving in, and starting new lives. I also want to say that with the Haitian diaspora, what Haiti needs more than anything is investments. And so one of the things that we're trying to seek through our business plan competition that I mentioned in my opening remarks is opportunities for Haitian diaspora and other investors to invest in these small businesses so that they can expand their operation and create jobs, because that's ultimately what Haiti needs more than anything is job creation so that people can afford to buy homes, send their kids to school, meet their health needs, et cetera. And so I think there's a huge role for the Haitian diaspora to play in that regard.
Thank you so much, and that's the limit of our going over, so thank you. My good friend, Karen Bass from California is recognized.
Madam Chair, I'd like to yield my time to Congresswoman Waters.
Without objection.
Thank you very much, Congresswoman Bass, for yielding time to me. I'm very appreciative of that. And I'd like to thank our ranking member, Mr. Engel, for his interest and concern in Haiti. We have traveled there, and I would like to say to him, if you and Chairman can arrange a Codell, many of us would like to go back very soon to look at some of the work that we've been involved in. And I'd like to say to Mr. Adams and Ms. Hogan, this is not easy work, and we understand that. It is very difficult, and I appreciate whatever progress that you have made. And I'm really concerned about the Haitians being able to create jobs and to do joint ventures. And I held a meeting up at Henry Seant's home in Haiti, where, you know, the middle-class Haitians all gathered. And I had USAID come up to show me the forms that you use in your request for a proposal. They were nothing in Creole, no technical assistance to local businesses, the kind of experiences that are being asked and the assets that are being asked about. I mean, it's just unreasonable. So I'd really like to see some movement in that area, because as you will hear from most of us who work with Haiti, who love Haiti, we really want to see Haitians empowered to be able to run their own country, to run their own businesses, et cetera. Having said that, and not being able to say everything I'd like to say, I sincerely believe that until we get governance right in Haiti, that you're not going to be able to do the best job that you can do. Until we provide the technical assistance to Haiti, we're not going to be able to have the kind of institutions that you allude to do what needs to be done. Now, I know that you were just down there, Mr. Adams. I talked to you before you left, and you probably got a copy of my letter that I sent to the Secretary. And I know that Haiti is a sovereign country, and we can't just go and tell them what to do. But I think they want our technical assistance, and I think a lot of the missteps is about a lack of knowledge and understanding about how to get some of this done. Now, you know that I'm very, very concerned, and in that letter that I sent to the Secretary, and I CC'd you, I said that I'm especially concerned about the political challenges facing the Haitian Senate. Under the Haitian Constitution, the Senate should consist of 30 senators, each of whom is elected to serve for 6 years. However, 1/3 of the seats in the Senate are currently vacant. These 10 senators' terms ended in 2012, and Haiti has yet to hold or even schedule elections to replace them. This has forced the Senate to function with only 2/3 of its full complement and made it extremely difficult for the Senate to assemble a quorum and conduct legislative business. A second group of 10 senators took office in 2009, and their 6-year terms are scheduled to expire 2015. Unfortunately, it appears that elections to replace these senators may not be held on schedule either. And of course, there's widespread rumor within Haiti and among the Haitian diaspora, that the Haitian government does not intend to allow the senators elected in 2009 to serve out their full 6-year terms. This rumor has it that the government intends to force these 10 senators to leave office in January of 2014, leaving the Senate complete, unable to function, and this, of course, renews old concerns about dictatorship. Now, I'm not going to go any further except to try and make this point, that we are providing a lot of aid, and it has done a lot of good, and I want us to continue to provide aid. I want housing built, I want potable water, I want all of those things, but I also want us to have some conditions, and part of those conditions have to do with the Constitution and the ability to have a government that functions. And I want us to assign resources to help them get these elections together so that people can make decisions, and you're not down there trying to make decisions that you shouldn't have to make. And so my question, if I still have time to ask it, is, Mr. Adams, did you take a message down there that when you went, that you were willing to provide technical assistance to get these elections done?
Yes, short answer is we have offered $10 million to support these next round of elections. The cost is estimated to be about $34 million. The government of Haiti will put in about $14 million, and other donors will make up the difference. So money is not the issue on the elections. Again, we have helped Parliament through a parliamentary strengthening program that AID has to analyze their electoral laws and help produce laws, and that has had some results. But as I mentioned, we think they can do better there. I think on the elections, I think you're right. They do want us to help them schedule a whole series of elections next year. I don't have time to go into how that might work, but I'd be glad to talk to you or your staff about sort of how we think that's going to work out. But your letter was very helpful. They were aware of it, so thank you for sending it.
You're welcome. Thank you, and I yield back the balance of my time. And I thank you, Congresswoman Bass. Oh, she left. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And now we will go to the esteemed members of Congress who are not on this committee, but who have earned the right to be recognized and ask questions. We're honored to have Barbara Lee, who was first here, recognized for her questioning. And you may go over the time limit too, Ms. Lee.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair, and thank you once again for your leadership and also for your assistance last Congress in getting our legislation assessing progress in Haiti Act passed, and I look forward to working with you on this reintroduction.
I'm blessed to work with you. Thank you, Ms.
Thank you very much. And to our ranking member, Mr. Engel, thank you so much for your continued leadership as it relates to the Caribbean region. I have served on the Western Hemisphere Subcommittee for many years with Mr. Engel, and he ensured that we had some focus and priority on the Caribbean and especially Haiti, so thank you again. Let me ask you a couple of things. First of all, just to mention to Mr. Adams, you know, we have, while set-asides may not be legal, you said against the law, we have minority business requirements in statute. And believe you me, I know how state and USAID conduct their contracting, and you all have a pretty dismal record in terms of contracting with minority and women-owned businesses. And so I would hope that you'd go back to the drawing board and look at how you can engage more with Haitian businesses, Haitian in the diaspora businesses, as well as African-American companies and other minority companies who want to participate. You mentioned the $70 million contract for the port construction that was just let. I wanted to ask you if you know how much of that contract was minority-owned in terms of subcontracting or requirements for subcontracting for either Haitian-owned businesses or minority-owned businesses. That's the first question. And then second, on the involvement of Haitian Americans, Haitians in the diaspora, we had a specific requirement that USAID make it as a priority, not only to talk to Haitian Americans, but to engage in funding some of these technical exchanges and professional exchanges. And so I want to see how that is working and if, in fact, that's been a priority within your funding mechanism.
Yeah, on the port contract, that was a contract led by the government of Haiti, not the United States of America. So I don't know what minority contracting provisions they put in there. I think it was just a simple contract with a port construction company.
Is it I don't remember whether you said, is it a Haitian-owned company or a U.S. company?
It's a Florida company. Actually, it's a U.S. subsidiary, a fully owned U.S. subsidiary of an Italian company, but it is a U.S. company.
Yeah, could you look into that for us and let us know?
Sure.
what the elements of that contract are?
Sure.
Okay, thank you very much. And then on the Haitian American exchanges, the technical exchanges, the support for Haitians in diaspora to go back to Haiti to contribute to their homeland?
Yes, indeed, we have initiated a program of, similar to what a Fulbright scholarship might look like, to send and embed Haitian Americans into key ministries for a period of up to a year to work side by side with government counterparts to try to improve their institutional capacity.
How many do you have, and how is that broken down? We've worked on this for many, many years, and I'd like to get sort of an update on that.
Okay, I'll defer to state since state runs that program.
Yeah, it's run by our Educational Cultural Affairs Bureau. There were 3 last year, and there are going to be 3 more replacing them about now, actually. They're changing over.
You mean
it's been very successful.
3 individuals?
Yeah, three. They're academics largely. I mean, they can come from anywhere. They happen to be Haitian Americans for the most part. One was assigned to the Ministry of Health, one to the Prime Minister's office, and one to the Ministry of Planning. And they were very well received, and we're going to repeat it.
Well, I'd like to not only repeat it, we need to enhance this and make it a priority. And I don't think 3 is sufficient for what we had initially suggested as some of the goals for engaging the Haitian diaspora.
Yeah, I agree with you. Some of the limitations are security generated. And I'd be glad to discuss that with you later.
Yeah, I think I'd like to follow up with that. Also, a couple of things on the Haiti strategy plan. This GAO report, again, I just have to say, really reinforces the need for legislation. On the results framework within the Haiti strategy plan, how does the United States assess the assistance activities, USAID activities, how they're impacting the lives of Haitians? We asked about this performance management plan, which includes all the benchmarks used to measure performance and effectiveness. How do you do that? And then also, I know that we had requested a detailed program-by-program description of USAID activities by, your goals, your objectives, and the amounts of funds obligated for each program. That was part of the report that the Senate Committee on Appropriations had requested, as well as all of the other requirements that we asked for. What's happening with that?
Yes, in fact, I want to say that just in the last couple of months, we have launched what we call the Foreign Assistance Dashboard that now lists all of our programs by country, by amount, by contracting or agency or NGO. So that is a huge step forward in meeting President Obama's open government initiative. And so I just want to reaffirm that we are completely committed as an agency to full transparency in what we're doing. And
Could we receive a copy of that report?
Well, it's a dashboard. It's an electronic system, so you actually go into it, but we can certainly send you the link for it. We're happy to do that. And as I say, we're not only committed to providing information, but to making it accessible, hence the dashboard. So I think, and we're going to keep building on that over time. And it's not just USAID's resources. In fact, it's all international assistance. So it includes state, it includes Treasury, it includes some of the DOD activities that they're doing on international development. So this is just the beginning, but it's getting built out as we speak. And I think it's going to be a huge resource for Congress and other interested stakeholders.
Okay, and then in the GAO report, this is my final question, which was really quite shocking and appalling when I saw this. 0.4% of funds went to domestic Haitian NGOs and businesses. 0.4%? What is that about?
It's much too low. And as I say, we have a target of getting to 15%. And even getting to 15% is going to be difficult because of the low capacity, but we're committed to putting resources into building that capacity so that we will be able to
But this has been going on for years and years and years. And so what is the problem?
I think we hadn't put aside funds specifically to build capacity for people to meet our requirements for grant management. So that's what's different, and that's going to help us meet that goal. We, although very little of our money goes directly, as I said, 10.1 million last year went directly to Haitian institutions. We have spent 50 million through grants and sub-grants and subcontracts to Haitian institutions. And so we are increasing our numbers both through subs as well as direct. But ideally, we're going to get to direct. And one
Could
thing
you break down those institutions, though, and send us a report
certainly.
on that? And again, that's a requirement in my legislation. So.
One thing I'd like to highlight for you is a very innovative condition that we put onto our new agriculture program in the North, which we call Feed the Future North. And in that contract that has been awarded to a U.S. company, their performance fee is going to be tied to the degree to which they can, quote unquote, graduate Haitian subcontractors to the point that they can then become primary contractors in their own right. I think this is the first time we've done it as an agency, and we're doing it.
That's a very good idea. It makes a lot of sense. Again, I want to see your U.S. companies, any Haitian-owned, U.S.-based companies or minority-owned companies.
Certainly.
U.S. Thank you.
Frederica Wilson from Florida.
Thank you for holding this hearing. I will not have time to ask the many questions that I have that have been submitted to me by my constituents. So I'm going to leave them for you, for staff, to get answers to them. But the one thing they are concerned about is what is being discussed here today. How do they become a part of the rebuilding of Haiti? This is what they want to do. They feel left out. And you talked about the laws of the United States, but what about the laws of Haiti? When you said that the Haitian government let out a contract for the port, will the Haitian government make sure that there is minority participation, and will they make sure that Haitian companies are involved? They also have some criticisms of USAID, and they have criticism of the Haitian government. And another one is the taxes on any money transfers into Haiti. There's a tax put on the money to improve education. And they need to find out is there any oversight of this money that's being sent to Haiti? Is it really being used for education? Who's making sure that they're building schools? Because people in the diaspora go over and they build schools, they build churches, orphanages, community centers, but they don't ever get any return for that. So they're not getting contracts. They're doing this on their own time and money. And also, there was a ruling in the Dominican Republic the other day about Haitian that will render stateless 4 generations of Haitian Dominicans. Will our government do anything to help with this problem? It's a real issue. And if we continue to say that the Haitian government lacks capacity, how are we going to build it? So there are many, many questions about the rest of it. And are we following these children? What are we doing as a government to make sure? Because the problem has increased since the earthquake. There are problems of insecurity, deprivation, hunger, and lack of prevention. And those are some of the issues, but I have a long list that I'd like to get answers for so that I can, I'm going to have a teletown hall meeting with the Haitian community to make sure that they have appropriate answers for this. They're concerned about the elections, and they're saying in the community in Miami that when the president does not allow for the elections, he's appointing people to these Senate seats, and he's appointing people to mayorships and different elected positions when the people should be electing them. The president is appointing his friends and to these different positions. So there's a lot of criticism against the government of Haiti and a lot of criticism against USAID. So I'll submit the questions to you. But just try to answer the one about the Dominican Republic. Was anything happening with that?
Sure. I'd be glad to speak to that. I mean, on September 23rd, the Dominican Supreme Court issued a ruling which basically said that those residing in the country of Haitian origin were only transients and weren't entitled to citizenship. This prompted the government of Haiti to withdraw its ambassador, and a number of international organizations, UN agencies, protested this result as being in violation of international law and norms, and particularly a 2005 judgment by the Inter-American Court of Human Rights, which states that children do not inherit the illegal status of their parents. So there's a lot of controversy here. We have engaged at very senior levels with the government of the Dominican Republic in a way to figure out how we can ameliorate this situation. And there are a number of avenues that could take place on that. But it's fairly complicated. I'd be glad to brief you on that separately. But rest assured, we are engaged diplomatically in this.
Okay, we go now to Yvette Clark from New York.
I thank you, Mr. Chairman, and I want to thank Congressman Engel for extending the invitation to sit in and to listen. And I think most of the colleagues have really hit some of the more salient points and concerns that I have. I look forward to the responses that were requested by colleagues. However, I do have a question about the minimum wage. During the questioning of Dr. Gutnick, he spoke to the issue of the minimum wage, and Haiti's minimum wage is among the lowest among countries that export apparel, and it is the lowest in the Western Hemisphere. In addition, garment factory owners, including those in the Caracol Park, which is heavily subsidized by the U.S. funding and benefit from trade preferences under Hope II, are violating U.S. law and Haitian laws. The Better Work Haiti program, established by the International Labor Organization and the International Finance Corporation, reported that every single one of Haiti's 24 garment factories is failing to pay the minimum wage. Therefore, is the State Department and USAID aware of this issue? And if so, are you all engaging the factory industries to be more compliant?
That's an excellent question, and let me give you a fairly extensive answer on that. The Haitian minimum wage law requires a base wage of 200 gourds a day for those involved in export industries. The Better Work Haiti report found that all the export factories are pretty much in compliance with that lower wage tier. The Haitian law is unclear, however, and requires that piecework, that in these factories, anyone engaged in piecework be given an opportunity to earn a higher 300 gourd wage, but it never defined how that wage was to be established.
Can you translate the gourd into
gourd,
a
about
dollar?
44 gourds to a dollar.
Okay.
Okay.
44 gourds to a dollar.
So the 200 gourd wage is about $5. The 300 gourd wage is about $7.
And that's $5 a day.
Yes, ma'am. Which is higher than Asian wages, I might add. But at any rate, the government of Haiti has worked with the factory owners, with labor and others, to define how that 300 gourd wage is reached. And I think they have gotten everybody in agreement, and when that is promulgated by the government of Haiti, it will clarify this whole area. All of the factories in Haiti cannot export to the U.S. unless they meet core labor standards. So we have found that as we resolve these issues, they're very resolvable. There's incentive on both sides to do it, and I'm firmly convinced that this unclear area of Haitian wage law will be clarified very shortly, and that the factories will be in compliance with it.
I think it's critical, because if we're subsidizing that, then we become complicit. And, you know, we're here to help the Haitian people. That's our moral obligation. And for us to sit and twiddle our thumbs while these folks are exploited does not bode well for us as a nation.
rest assured, we're not twiddling our thumbs. The U.S. Department of Labor is engaged in this, providing help and assistance to both sides.
Do we have a sense of when this will be resolved, how this will be proclaimed, how people will know their rights as workers, and how we hold these factories accountable? I mean, if you're inclined to get away with paying people, below minimum wage, then you're inclined to do that, notwithstanding, what we say. We should not have our dollars invested in these types of companies.
No, I think this has been a good story, by and large, the compliance with core labor standards, and I think this will continue to be a good story.
I'd just like to add my voice to that of Congresswoman Waters about the governance concerns. We have got to fix that. Everything else we're saying here becomes moot if this government tilts towards a dictatorship. And, this is a very, very serious issue. Whatever we must do to get them on the right track and make sure that democracy continues down the road to strength. Thank you. Mr. Chairman, I yield back, and I thank you for the opportunity today.
I thank the gentlelady, and let me also thank our witnesses for their willingness to come here and to testify today, Ms. Hogan, Mr. Adams. And as I said in my opening statement on this issue of lack of rule of law and lack of transparency in Haiti, both the Haitians and the U.S. taxpayers deserve better. I would like to share some good news, and earlier this year, some private charitable groups were having problems getting an air ambulance program approved for Midor, Haiti, and we raised this issue with Tom Adams, and we want to express our appreciation because you helped with the Haitian authorities, helped resolve the issue. The committee learned just yesterday that verbal permission has been given by the civil aviation authorities to proceed with the free emergency air ambulance program into Midor, and additionally that you were present at the meeting with the Haitian government when this happened. So we thank you for that, Mr. Adams, and just want to convey that the committee appreciates your good work on behalf of these charitable groups. And again, thank you both for your testimony here today.
Thank you, sir.
We stand adjourned.